He was a punching bag at school, crushed daily. Even his crush abandoned him, siding with the bullies. But fate had a cruel twist. He met Truck-kun, and thus, he was reborn as Lucas Ryan, into a world where magic reigns supreme, revered by all, while martial artists are utterly despised. But Lucas? He became a prodigy at the academy. In this realm where magic dictates everything, on the mystical continent of Arcana, a momentous annual event was about to unfold. A prominent figure declared to the eager crowd, "Today, we perform the sacred divine blessing. Children, under 6 years old, would offer their most precious treasures to the gods above. If their offering is accepted, a divine messenger would descend," he explained this. Spirit would sense the child's unique magical element, granting them the precious chance to become a mage. A young boy asked his mother, "Could I truly learn magic just by offering a piece of candy?" But she firmly believed it required expensive jewelry, like the affluent nobles displayed. A noblewoman proudly flaunted her glittering precious stone, proclaiming that the more valuable the offering, the greater the chance of receiving a divine blessing. A man whispered, "I heard the Ryan family poured their entire fortune into this blessing." Another added, "It would be utterly tragic if they weren't blessed. After all that colossal effort." Holt Ryan, the family head, knew he had staked everything on their family's future. Yet, he was certain his children, Leica and Louis Ryan, would receive magnificent, top-tier blessings. The master of ceremonies then called the next name on the list. He boomed, "Julia Ryan," the young girl, approached, delicately placing a small crown on the altar. A mystical formation shimmered on the ground, and the MC wondered, "What could this be?" He gasped. "Is this the blessing of Kahai, the thunder god?" It's a level 7. 12 long years had passed since a blessing of such a high level was witnessed. Her father cheered, celebrating his daughter's incredible talent, proclaiming their family had truly been chosen. The young girl slowly regained consciousness, not fully grasping what had just unfolded. Her mother remarked, "That offering didn't seem valuable. Enough to cost the family fortune." One guest then reminded another, "But one child still remains, and he will offer the legendary treasure." Holt knelt before Lucas, telling him, "You're next," and the boy simply nodded. An older man presented him with a magnificent sword for the offering. In the crowd, people gasped at the raw energy radiating from the blade. A colossal figure manifested powerfully behind the boy, identified as Vulcanus, the mighty fire god. His little sister then wished her big brother good luck. The MC realized, by offering something so incredibly valuable, the Ryan family head was truly betting everything on this boy. Lucas calmly walked toward the altar to make his offering. Outside, the very sky itself began to shift colors, and the stunned people wondered, "What is happening?" The boy's father had never witnessed anything like this. He gasped, "Could this be a level 9? The youth stood poised in the center of the altar. The magnificent sword floated in the air as the boy watched. Then, he noticed an intense surge of energy radiating into his hand. A brilliant light spread up his arm, engulfing it completely. Another colossal figure was now gripping the sword outside. Someone then commented that the sky had finally returned to normal. Holt wondered if the blessing had truly ended, and where the divine spirit now resided. His youngest daughter's gaze darted to the altar. Suddenly, Lucas was violently repelled from the altar, crashing to the ground, utterly motionless. The MC and his family cried out, his parents, frantically rushing over, pleading for him to awaken. The MC declared that the god had explicitly rejected him. He proclaimed that Lucas Ryan had been utterly abandoned by the progenitor of magic. As the family rallied around him, a brilliant light descended from the ceiling, but it headed towards someone else entirely. In the realm of the fire god, a discontented voice echoed. The entity was clearly annoyed that the Ryan family had dared offer an ancient power. He observed the blade, swearing he would never, ever forgive them. His servants praised his decision to merely reject the child's offering. Yet, one spirit noticed an otherworldly presence had subtly entered the boy's body and asked if it should be removed too. The fire god simply replied, there was no need to waste time on a mere being from another world. He then turned to the other times offering, calling it a truly fine piece. A soul, now wrapped in shimmering energy, found itself within it. Suddenly, an eye snapped open. In the celestial source realm of the martial god, a powerful man emerged, his focus solely on his goal. With a single, decisive movement, he shattered a formidable barrier. He advanced effortlessly through space, as a cosmic creature addressed him as the power source, governing this very world. The man simply asked if the creature, truly sought to block his path to a higher dimension. The cosmic creature retaliated with a furious blast, attempting to contain him. But the man pressed forward, unleashing his energy directly. The impact effortlessly overwhelmed the creature. He turned as the being dissipated into a swirling, large vortex. He now faced a newly formed portal. The martial god stated that power source was nothing special. A small creature then flew toward him, calling him Lord Martial God. He grabbed it, asking why his attendant spirit was obstructing him. Then, he sensed that his old partner, Reku, was no longer present. The spirit showed an image, and he wondered what on Arcana's continent was truly happening. He remembered that 1,000 years ago, martial arts reigned supreme. Now, the fire god, Vulcanus, was worshipped instead. The spirit commented on the dire current situation. Yet even so, he claimed that spreading martial arts was a heavy burden. He had no interest in developing them. Yet he acknowledged the sacred duty to pass them on. A small being like him had to dedicate himself constantly to intense training. His presence then dissolved into a shimmering point of light. A new consciousness then abruptly awoke, utterly confused about its situation. Opening his eyes, he immediately questioned, what was that? He saw himself, surrounded by several identical, floating figures. The boy remained lying in bed. The ethereal creatures introduced themselves as Mars, the martial god, and boldly announced they would grant him a blessing. They continued to float gracefully around the youth's bed. Then, in unison, they all flew directly toward him. As they drew near, the boy instinctively reacted. Suddenly, a searing light shot out, striking him directly. He'd received the legendary Level 9 Martial God's Blessing, and with it, the limits on his martial arts training were shattered. Pushing himself up in bed, the youth wondered, what even times is times this martial god? Level 9 stuff? He couldn't quite grasp it. He recalled seeing spirits of incredible, overwhelming power. He stared at his hands, bewildered by what was happening. Then, the accident flashed back, making him question why he was times here asterisk. Lucas Ryan's memories flooded in, invading his mind. He wondered if the gods were simply messing with him. This new situation was definitely real. Fearing this new life would be incredibly difficult, he thought of his mother and Azusa, who would now continue on with their lives. Yet, he still didn't quite grasp what martial arts truly meant, especially regarding the blessing he'd received. A lollipop suddenly clattered to the floor beside his bed. The small sound made him glance toward the door. A little girl then bounded into the room, calling out for her big brother. She rushed over, throwing her arms around him on the bed. The girl confessed she'd heard he might never wake up, and she was so worried. He gently comforted her, asking her not to cry anymore. Recognizing her as Julia, Lucas's sister, he remembered Azusa, who must have been utterly shaken by what happened. He then made a silent vow. He would protect the people precious to him in this time's life. Counting on the martial god's help, an angelic statue stood prominently on an altar in the center of a grand hall. Suddenly, dark liquid began to weep from the statue's eyes. The stone figure wept the dark substance, offering up its stained, outstretched hands. A woman remarked that the detestable man's presence had vanished. She wondered if he died or simply left this world. Clutching a symbol on her chest, she lamented, having so little power left. The woman then rose, amidst a swirling dark substance. She declared that with him out of the way, this world would soon be theirs. 9 years later, peace reigned at the Ryan family estate. Lucas noticed the weather had cleared. Assuming Julia's training must be over, he decided to go meet her. But a massive thorn bush suddenly blocked his path. Suddenly, the thorns wrapped tightly around him, hoisting him into the air. Lucas wondered, who would pull a prank like this? Asterisk again. Asterisk? He turned, identifying the culprit as Jeremy. As Jeremy Ryan greeted him as Lucas, the child abandoned by the gods. Behind him, a maid expressed surprise that Lucas hadn't been kicked out yet. Jeremy reminded Lucas that this backyard was times reserved, times for the family's mages. He suggested that maybe Lucas would finally learn his lesson if he suffered some consequences. But Lucas warned him that his sister was finishing her magic training and would return times any second asterisk. He advised Jeremy to let him go, unless you want to get blasted by her lightning. Jeremy called him a coward for hiding behind his sister, stammering that he wasn't afraid of a little lightning. At that exact time's moment, a powerful bolt struck him square in the chest. The maid. She screams for her master, who lies motionless on the ground. The smoking Lucas turns, his eyes catching Julia nearing the gate. Young Julia fiercely warns, Jeremy, she won't hold back if he dares to bully her brother again. She puffs out her cheeks in a huff, then turns to face her brother, declaring she'll get those thorns off him right away. Once calm, he pats his sister's head, and she beams up at him. Lucas keeps his hand on her head, asking Jeremy if he's finally learned his lesson. Jeremy just stares, utterly unable to respond. Without a second thought, he whirls around and flees with the maid. Lucas comments on Jeremy's incredible speed, noting that she went easy on him with that last shock. Julia then asks, "Why didn't you fight back, since you could easily defeat him?" He reminds her that his true strength remains a secret, just between them. He pats her head again, saying she's there to protect him, and she readily agrees as they walk toward the mansion. He reflects on the 9 years that have passed since he reincarnated into Lucas's body. He recalls the day he woke up. Lucas's father, Holt, visited him, making him believe he'd be expelled for failing to meet expectations. Instead, Holt embraced him, saying he was just happy Lucas had woken up safely. Even though he leads an order of knights and is rarely home, Holt is a good father who genuinely cares about his children. When Holt discovered Lucas had started training in martial arts, he immediately sent a letter with useful information. The letter informed him that the family archives held ancient martial arts books that could help. Lucas descends a dark corridor, lighting the way with a candle. Thanks to that letter, he was able to put a certain audacious plan into action. Back in the present, a maid calls for young Master Lucas outside the mansion. One maid wonders where he went, but the other says not to worry. He'll be expelled soon anyway. Suddenly, the two maids are startled by something they see. One asks if the other has felt the ground shaking. Her companion suggests it might just be someone practicing earth magic. Meanwhile, deep in an underground cave, a fist smashes through a stone wall. Lucas steps back from the rubble, wiping sweat from his face. He looks at the passage he's dug. It should be enough to reach the archives. He spent 6 months digging to build this secret training ground, divided into a study area, a training zone, and storage. He had to improvise a cheap tub for a bathroom, since he spent all his money equipping the other sections. He's trained here secretly every day since finishing it. Currently, he's relaxing in a medicinal bath, claiming it's the most efficient way to train martial arts. It's been 3 years since he started training. With the chaotic tempering technique he found in the archives, he rises from the tub, revealing that now magic attacks of level 5 or lower. He's practically untouchable, his defenses finally taking shape. Now, he shifts his focus to offense. He approaches a training dummy, sword in hand, ready to strike, and executes a rapid, unstoppable series of strikes with his broadsword. He also trains with a long spear. Finally, he steps back from the training dummy, now utterly annihilated. Having reached level 4 inches his spear technique, he decides to practice his fist techniques a bit more today. His skills have steadily improved over the last 9 years, but one thing still bothers him. According to ancient books, martial artists hit a frustrating limit that can only be broken by achieving enlightenment. But this enlightenment is so incredibly difficult to attain that most give up. That's why so few ever truly master martial arts. He turns to a massive training barrel and declares, "I am different." He delivers a powerful punch straight into the barrel, causing it to completely explode on impact. He has reached level 5 inches his fist technique. His levels just keep rising, with no apparent limit. He realizes this must be what they call a divine blessing. Back in his room, he remembers Holt is returning home tonight for a family dinner. He walks down the hall toward the large dining room doors. Upon opening them, he finds his entire family already seated at the table. Holt greets him, mentioning it's been 6 months since they last saw each other, and invites him to sit. Holt informs Lucas that the Allen Magic Academy is opening a special martial arts department, and that he has already enrolled him. He acknowledges that martial arts are difficult but knows Lucas can succeed. He warns that the entrance exam is next week. Lucas simply thanks his father. Lucas reflects that he needs to get stronger, but he can't stand out too much, or he'll cause trouble. Julia then raises her hand and tells their father she wants to attend Allen Magic Academy with Lucas. Holt explains it's a good goal, but she's only 11. Julia retorts that the elite class has no age restrictions. She reveals she has actually already received an offer for the elite class. Holt just stares at her, pondering this information. He comments to his wife that Julia's reputation as a genius must have reached the academy and that a great mage might be born into the family. While Julia giggles, Lucas comments that, "It's amazing," leaving Jeremy visibly annoyed. A relative says they will pray for both to pass, but Jeremy asks why Lucas is getting special treatment. Suddenly, Jeremy is startled by a voice telling him to calm down. A hand touches face, and the voice repeats that there's no need to worry. Jessica Ryan, Jeremy's mother, reassures him, saying it's not guaranteed, that Lucas will pass the exam anyway. A week later, the day arrived to leave for the Magic Academy. The family said their goodbyes at the estate gates. Julia's mother told them to take care. She promised to visit soon with their favorite pudding. Then, she gave them one last vital reminder. Don't forget the lucky coin, a precious keepsake their father had personally gifted them. This ancient treasure hailed from the legendary Buwan dynasty, a staggering 10 millennia ago. Their mighty father had earned it after triumphantly subjugating a fearsome, magical beast. Holt proudly displayed the gleaming coin for them to see. He revealed that the intricately engraved face belonged to none other than Mars, the legendary first emperor. Lucas recognized him instantly, his eyes wide. He urged them to always keep it close, promising it would bring them good luck and fortune. Lucas clutched the coin tightly in his hand. He truly felt blessed, fortunate to have such a wonderful family, not just in this life, but in both his extraordinary existences. With a final, loving wave, Julia bid them a heartfelt farewell. And with that, their journey finally began. A few hours later, the coachman's voice cut through the air, announcing the setting sun. He suggested they make camp in the inviting clearing just ahead. Gathered around the crackling campfire, a man named Forden began to explain their journey's itinerary. They were set to reach Allen Academy by nightfall the following day. The very next day, a curious Julia approached Mr. Forden and asked if there was anything particularly interesting to see or do in Daku City. He simply nodded, then mentioned the thrilling annual Magic Dodgeball Tournament. Mr. Forden went on to add that the bustling city was also widely famous for being an absolute gastronomic paradise. Lucas couldn't help but notice his sister Julia was practically drooling already. Then, a sudden jolt. He sensed swift, stealthy movement from the encroaching darkness of the forest. Precisely, he detected 12 horses and 13 distinct individuals, approaching rapidly. They were just 2 kilometers away. He immediately asked Forden if there were any bandits known in the area. The man calmly replied that the chances were extremely low. However, Lucas's chaotic, tempering technique had honed his senses to an incredible, razor-sharp degree. He was absolutely certain he wasn't imagining things. With only 5 of them, including a young child in their group, he knew they needed to be incredibly cautious. He quickly rose to his feet, a grim warning in his voice, as he told them. A mysterious group was rapidly approaching, and they needed to get into a defensive formation. Now, Forden, hearing nothing, stood bewildered, wondering what in the world young Master Lucas was talking about. But then, a sudden realization struck, and he quickly changed his mind. He sharply ordered the guards to ready their weapons immediately, without a moment's hesitation. He didn't know where Lucas got his uncanny information, but decided it was far better to be safe than sorry. Just at that moment, a ferocious group of bandits, on horseback, violently charged through the dense forest. The guards spotted the riders, confirming their terrifying presence. The bandit leader saw them and let out a triumphant laugh, celebrating that the bosses was absolutely right about this place being full of juicy nobles. One of them sneered, commenting that the little girl and the boy next to her would undoubtedly yield an excellent ransom. Forden stepped forward, confronting them with a fierce gaze. He demanded if they had any idea what truly happens to those foolish enough to mess with nobles. The bandit leader, utterly unfazed, simply barked orders to his men. Attack everyone, but spare the 2 children. With a savage roar, the bandits advanced. Immediately, one of the loyal guards rushed forward to provide cover for Mr. Forden. A fierce bandit charged forward on horseback, his wicked sword raised high, ready to strike. But a swift guard intercepted him mid-charge, expertly hitting him with a spear. The bandit leader, eyes narrowed, watched his companion dramatically fall. With a battle cry, Forden personally entered the chaotic fray. Moving with lightning speed, his sword a blur, he called out to Miss Julia, urging her to leave this perilous situation entirely to him. With a single, devastating blow, he surged forward, expertly taking down several bandits in a flash. He quickly spun around, yelling urgently for young Master Lucas to grab Julia and run for their lives. Lucas spun sharply, his keen ears picking up the distinct sound of a new attack. One of the bandits unleashed a furious fire spell directly upon the remaining. The guard's leader suddenly realized they were facing a mage. This truly stunned Forden. He yelled for Lucas and Julia to flee into the forest while he took down another enemy. But then, a bandit ambushed him from behind, striking him hard. Lucas spun around just in time to witness it, screaming Farden's name. The older man struggled to his feet, wounded and completely encircled by foes. The bandit leader vowed to burn him alive for defeating his comrade. Farden braced for battle, defiantly declaring he would protect the young master and young lady, even if it cost him his very life. Lucas knew Farden was only a level 2 martial artist. He couldn't possibly defeat a mage. Lucas desperately wanted to keep his true strength a secret, but he just couldn't. He remembered how Farden had always been kinder to him than anyone, practically becoming family. He couldn't stand by and watch his family get attacked. He quickly told Julia to hide. He knelt down, telling her he was going to help Farden. His sister agreed, but pleaded with him to be careful. Lucas sprinted directly into the fray. Meanwhile, Farden exchanged fierce blows with the bandit leader, but fell to his knees, struggling to stay upright. The bandit leader raised his sword, poised to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, the attackers dropped. Farden looked back, utterly surprised by what had just occurred. The other bandits gasped, wondering what that was. 2 swift projectiles struck 2 bandits. Then a barrage of projectiles instantly took down several more. A small flame flickered to life in Lucas's hand. He mused that his Gale strike had reached level 4. Defeating level 1 bandits was now a piece of cake. One of the bandits despaired, demanding to know who the hell did that to his companions. The leader realized they had all been defeated in an instant. He prepared one last desperate attack, screaming that he was taking the old man down with him. A massive fireball launched directly at Farden, who had no strength left to dodge. Farden inwardly thanked whoever had helped, knowing the children would now live. He closed his eyes, thanking the heavens. But Lucas leaped in front of him to intercept the imminent attack. The youth charged directly against the raging fireball. Farden watched him, utterly unable to believe his eyes. After the smoke cleared, Lucas was still standing there. Farden called out to him, "Young master." The bandit leader was stunned to see his powerful fireball completely negated. He tried to counterattack with another spell, but Lucas simply stated, "You're already finished." With a single, explosive punch, Lucas charged and hit the bandit leader squarely. The impact instantly defeated the man, and Lucas landed gracefully on the horse. Farden watched him, amazed, and asked, "How did you do that?" Smiling, Lucas turned and said he seemed to have a talent for martial arts. The older man could only gasp, "Young master!" Suddenly, a dark, ominous mass began to sprout from the ground right behind them. The creature rose completely, revealing its horrifying skeletal face. The monster commanded, "Lucas Ryan and Jeremy Ryan, die." Lucas stared intensely at the terrifying thing before him. He decided he needed to defeat this monster quickly. Jeremy then leaped into the air, soaring toward the creature. He smashed the monster's head with a fierce blow, *. Meanwhile, Lucas kept his eyes on his companion's actions elsewhere. A man slammed his fist into the ground. Raw energy surged through the soil, erupting from his fist. Suddenly, chains exploded from the earth, ensnaring a man. Back at the main fight, the tension mounted. Lucas pondered, *. What bizarre entity could this be? *. And ominous symbol gleamed within the creature's eye. He questioned, "Is that times? What's puppeteering the dead?" The monster roared *, opening its enormous, threatening maw. Jeremy declared, "If my normal attacks prove futile, then I'll unleash a completely new approach." Jeremy pummeled the monster with both hands, a relentless barrage. Lucas braced himself, ready to strike the monstrous creature. His palm shot out, brimming with focused energy. He aimed a precision strike *, hitting the symbol in the monster's eye directly. A blazing beam of energy ripped through *, annihilating the creature at its core, deep in the forest. The monster was utterly obliterated *, disintegrated by the sheer force of the attack. Lucas stood motionless as the creature's silhouette vanished like a fading echo. He collapsed to the ground, utterly spent and exhausted. Julia's voice echoed his name. He spun around, seeing her rushing toward him. Julia embraced him tightly, eagerly asking if he had defeated every last one of the villains. Jeremy watched the scene, utterly bewildered. He was still wondering what stunning turn of events had just happened. Lucas, startled by a noise, swiftly glanced to the side. A piercing neigh echoed from deep in the forest. A lone figure was draped atop the horse. It was Mayarasta, bound helplessly atop the animal. Meanwhile, In a gloomy cavern where several men were imprisoned, the cult hostess fiercely questioned, "Who dared eliminate?" Subject no. 44? She then declared that restoring her own power was her absolute main priority. Back in the forest, meanwhile, Julia affirmed, "The girl's name is Maya Rasta." Lucas then commented that the name had a strangely familiar ring. "I've heard Rasta somewhere before." Settling beside Maya, Julia agreed, saying she had the exact same eerie feeling. Lucas explained that the Rasta and Ryan families were renowned noble houses residing near Daku City. Julia finally remembered. She eagerly inquired, "Maya, how did you end up being attacked by those vicious bandits?" Maya began to recount her ordeal. Just a few hours earlier, bandits had suddenly, fiercely ambushed my carriage. In her chilling memory, one of the bandits was cruelly cackling. She continued, saying her guards were devastatingly defeated, falling one after another, and her lady-in-waiting was assaulted while bravely trying to protect her. Maya explained that it didn't matter how many times she pleaded her noble status. One of the men just stared at her, coldly unwavering. She grimly concluded by saying their sole objective was simply to kidnap the children of nobles. Lucas quickly reassured them, "Everything's fine now, as every last one of them has been defeated." He pondered silently for a moment. Then, Forden approached and respectfully informed the young master that Miss Maya and Miss Julia had gone to rest. Lucas then called him over, seeking his insight and opinion on what Maya had revealed earlier. Forden asked if he meant the fact that those bandits were highly professional. He confirmed. They had likely been systematically preying upon noble children for quite some time now. Lucas added, "Furthermore, these weren't just bandits, they wielded dark arts, and they possessed a bizarre, unsettling ability to control the dead." Forden gazed pensively to the side as the young master gravely concluded, "There seems to be a terrifying, malevolent entity behind times. Everything asterisk. Forden." He vowed to report this to the master without delay, if they brought Maya's plight to the Rasta family. Regarding her dire situation, they'd almost certainly secure their invaluable cooperation. Lucas readily agreed, adding that he had a brilliant idea to swiftly avoid any more troublesome incidents. The very next day, in bustling Daku City, Julia was utterly stunned to hear their Fun City tour plans were abruptly cancelled. Lucas carefully explained that some of yesterday's troublesome bandits might still be lurking within the city's shadows. For their ultimate safety, it was far better to head straight to the prestigious Magic Academy immediately. He urged her to try and understand, emphasizing it was solely for her and Maya's well-being. Maya, of course, wholeheartedly agreed. As Julia and Lucas settled together within the carriage, Lucas cast a fond gaze toward his sister. He promised Julia he would later buy her absolutely anything and everything delicious she could ever desire. Maya cheerfully commented on how wonderfully well the two got along, just as Forden announced their arrival in the grand city itself. Julia and her brother, utterly captivated, both eagerly poked their heads out the carriage window in unison. They both marveled at the vibrant cityscape stretching out before them. She was absolutely awestruck by the bustling city streets, teeming with people and countless establishments. A passing man remarked that this was, indeed, the largest city in the entire empire, second only to the imperial capital. Maya, too, peered out the window with wide eyes, exclaiming that the whole place felt incredibly lively. The trio continued to observe the magnificent city together. Lucas, taking in the bustling scenery, mused aloud that the vibrant atmosphere of this city felt remarkably similar to the one he had known back in his mysterious past life. Suddenly, a man dressed as a mischievous clown popped up, right at the window, giving the girls quite a fright. Lucas generously bought them all sorts of delicious breads and sweets. Maya kindly offered one of the scrumptious sweets to Julia, while the boy watched them fondly. Forden then guided them to a magnificent, towering gate, explaining he could only accompany them that far. Lucas quickly reassured him, confidently stating he would fiercely protect Julia. The young girl hugged him back, declaring she would protect him just as fiercely. He gently patted her head, playfully adding that he was truly counting on his genius mage. She confidently replied that he could absolutely leave it all to her. Forden watched the heartwarming scene unfold. Maya commented on Lucas having his clever little sister to protect him, finding him quite an interesting fellow indeed. The devoted butler watched the trio walk away, heading towards the grand gate. Maya pondered how incredibly kind the two siblings were, while Lucas, in turn, reflected on how truly happy he was to have met them both. Maya looked at him, and we flash back to the previous night. Forden suddenly recalled a crucial detail. He revealed to Lucas, with a sudden realization, that Miss Maya had, in fact, once been his very own fiancée. They were incredibly close during their childhood days, but their engagement was unfortunately broken off after the priest declared he possessed absolutely no talent for magic. The Allen Magic Academy stands as one of the Sarmina Empire's most prestigious top 3 magical schools. Every aspiring new student must bravely face an intense entrance exam. The rigorous results determine which of the 4 distinct departments they'll join for their extensive 6 years of mage training. Lucas eagerly explains to Julia that truly exceptional students can actually graduate ahead of schedule by passing a special certification exam. He glances away for just a moment. Julia sighs, saying it's a real shame, as she had truly hoped to take the entrance exam alongside Maya. Lucas assures her Maya already aced her exam earlier with her family, safe and sound. He urges Julia to focus now, so they can both join Maya as classmates. Julia, full of determination, agrees, and asks where to register. The young girl's presence immediately catches everyone's eye. A bystander wonders if she's truly a candidate. Another exclaims at how incredibly young she looks, while a third gushes over her brother's striking appearance. As Julia playfully grabs Lucas's arm, someone else wistfully remarks, "They wish they had a sister just like her." Suddenly, a voice cuts through the crowd, calling out to them. The woman introduces herself as Mina, the esteemed vice president of the Academy Student Council. Mina slyly asks Julia if she's just here to follow her brother. The girl, indignant, denies it, firmly stating she's absolutely here to take the exam with him. Mina then checks Julia's application, immediately hypothesizing she must be the legendary girl offered a spot in the elite class. Mina's lips curve into a faint, knowing smile. She confirms the girl is indeed Julia, from the renowned Ryan family. Julia, surprised, asks how the woman knows her name. Mina replies, "You'll find out soon enough," and starts guiding her toward the bustling registration area, momentarily leaving Lucas behind. But Julia quickly stops her, asserting that her brother needs to register as well. The vice president turns back, a slight blush betraying she forgot. She then asks Lucas if he's here for the martial arts department. Suddenly, hushed voices ripple through the crowd, questioning the very idea of a martial artist attending a Magic Academy like Allen. At Allen Academy, some mages notoriously look down on martial artists. Julia bristles at the disparaging comments, but the murmurs continue, cruelly comparing martial artists to nobodies. Lucas turns his head, a steely gaze in his eyes, stating their opinions simply don't matter. Mina hears his bold declaration, realizing she probably shouldn't have mentioned his department out loud. Another voice calls Lucas's name. Mina, regaining composure, addresses him, inviting him to register immediately so they can head to the exam hall. Lucas smiles warmly and thanks her. They arrive at a vast hall, absolutely packed with eager candidates. Mina instructs everyone to register swiftly with a student council member and hands out identification badges. Badges in hand, they're informed their unique exam. Numbers are cleverly stored within them. The exam, it turns out, has 3 parts: measuring magical potential, attribute compatibility, and raw power against a target. Lucas, ever curious, asks if the process is the same for martial arts candidates. Mina confirms the exam is absolutely identical for everyone. The young man, a flicker of dissatisfaction crossing his face, nods at the explanation. He claps his hands together, a determined glint in his eye, saying he understands. He then boldly declares he'll show everyone the true power of a martial artist and utterly change their perception. At the potential measurement station, an examiner's booming voice announces the start of the first test. The examiner watches intently as Lucas confidently approaches the gauge. Suddenly, the man reacts with a gasp, claiming he's never seen anything like this, a truly rare phenomenon. When Lucas places his hand on the gauge, however, his result is shockingly low. The screen clearly shows he'll struggle to enter even the martial arts department. He sighs, lamenting, "This is happening again." Next, another eager candidate steps forward and places her hand on the gauge. 2 nearby candidates react in sheer surprise at her phenomenal result. Her potential is a staggering 7 out of 10, instantly ranking her as one of the year's best students. From the crowd, Lucas watches on, cool and composed, inwardly scoffing at the easily impressed onlookers. He urges Julia not to hold back, and she confirms with a confident nod. The examiner's gaze is fixed, sharp and expectant, as the girl pours her very essence into the power gauge. The device, clutched tight in her hands, begins to pulse and emit an incredible surge of energy that rapidly expands, completely engulfing the entire exam hall. The examiner's voice rings out. The result is a perfect 10. The absolute maximum score. Her talent is nothing short of incredible. To grasp the scale, another student took times 2 whole years times just to reach that same level. She holds the gauge, proudly displaying the final, monumental result. Julia finishes the test, immediately making her way toward Lucas, her voice ringing out, "Brother." She throws her arms around him, excitedly asking, "Was it good?" He replies, a gentle smile on his face. "You'll become an archmage one day," a spectator whispers, pointing out the stark contrast between this genius and someone with absolutely no talent, but is swiftly cut off by a colleague, a keen young man, who sternly advises him, "Don't go stirring up trouble with a genius, especially over someone with no ability." Julia's posture immediately shifts, her eyes flashing a fierce warning. "I won't accept anyone mistreating my brother, ever." For the past 3 arduous years, all of Lucas's hard work had a purpose. Candidates then gathered in a vast circular hall for the compatibility test. Elemental spirits of myriad natures and forms abruptly materialized, fluttering throughout the room. A surprised candidate gasped, quickly pointing, instantly drawing everyone's bewildered attention. Julia stood poised, radiant. At the very center of the hall, spirits of every single element were beginning to gather, swirling gracefully around her as she simply beamed. One candidate whined pitifully about attracting absolutely no spirits, while another wondered aloud if Julia possessed maximum compatibility with every single element. Watching from afar, Lucas mused to himself about her undeniably impressive talent. Her unique special ability was amplifying her already boundless potential. It was, without a doubt, more than enough to ace the entrance exam. An examiner then proudly announced that Julia Ryan had secured the highest compatibility score of all candidates, and promptly offered their sincerest congratulations. Immediately, a group approached her, showering praise for her performance, and excitedly asking to become her friends. Julia, a little overwhelmed, ran and hugged Lucas from behind, calling out to her brother in a small voice. He turned, asking what was wrong, as she timidly hid behind him. Peeking from behind him, she asked, "Why are those people staring at me like that?" Lucas simply gave her head a reassuring pat. He gently explained it was because she was a true genius, and she'd be getting a lot of attention like that from now on. He advised her to gradually get used to this new normal. Julia, with fierce determination, declared she needed to become stronger to protect him. Lucas, hearing this, immediately encouraged that attitude. He also secretly planned to strengthen her mentality to truly handle all the incoming attention. His eyes then drifted, spotting 2 men talking in the distance. One commented, marveling, that Julia's talent could easily be on par with royalty, but her utterly useless brother makes me instantly dismiss that idea. The other recalled, that guy's compatibility score was likely a big, fat 0, just like in the previous test. Besides, all the spirits had visibly recoiled from him in repulsion, the very moment he entered the hall. The man continued, mentioning that something else, something truly strange, had happened at the end of the second test too. He recounted that the very moment Lucas left, part of a raging fire, the spirit just shattered. His friend, however, doubted the tale. But at that very moment, Lucas and Julia walked right past them. Lucas, specifically, caught their conversation and couldn't help but crack a sly smile. He then recalled the true events that transpired during that test. As he casually strolled through the hall, the fire spirits scattered, avoiding him. Their demeanor towards him was particularly hostile, taunting him even as the test ended and he prepared to leave. Suddenly, one shot straight at him. The spirit spat scorching fire directly in his face. So, with a flick of his wrist, he picked up a small stone and hurled it, instantly dissipating the fire spirit's very form in the process. He declared that a mere servant of the fire god had no right to act so arrogantly. Around him, Lucas then gently took Julia's hand and called for her to head to the final test. He asked if she could secure first place in the upcoming challenge. The girl confidently replied, yes, as long as he didn't go too hard. A playful smile on her face. The young man chuckled, saying he wouldn't get serious, since he planned for times to protect him. Soon, they arrived at the magic destruction power test site. In the very center of the arena, a massive metal mannequin awaited the eager candidates. One candidate grumbled that the genius girl had snagged first place times again, *. Another scoffed, doubting she could even break the mannequin. He stated, There was absolutely no chance she could do it. These mannequins were forged from a special metal, imbued with powerful defensive enchantments. They could easily resist any attack below curse rank. Lucas intently observed the targets, commenting to himself that they certainly looked tough. He clenched his fist. This was a prime chance to test his new level 6 skills. He concluded that getting to use such expensive equipment definitely made coming to this school worth it. Suddenly, someone rudely shoved him in the bustling crowd, haughtily telling him to stop pushing. A girl pointed a finger at him and sharply ordered him to get in line. She then turned to another candidate and declared, "Useless people should just get out of the way." The established rule was simple. The talentless go to the back. The candidate stared intently at him. His unexpected presence was then noticed by the other girl in line. She turned with a haughty sniff and immediately acted with disdain. With a sneer, she stepped uncomfortably close to Lucas and Julia. She then directly asked Julia if she was the one who scored a 9.6 on the compatibility test. The girl clearly looked down on her with scorn. Julia, startled and scared, instantly called out for her brother. "Lucas!" He shielded her as she mumbled that the other girl was truly scary. He calmly asked, "Who exactly are you?" The young woman haughtily introduced herself as Iowa Miranda, the proud granddaughter of Duke Miranda. The Miranda family was renowned as one of the 3 great families of the Northern Empire, and not just a clan, that had produced a legendary mage. Coincidentally, Lucas's own mother also belonged to that very family. He suddenly remembered his mother, Catherine, Lucas, then realized the girl was his cousin, and promptly asked her age. Iowa, surprised, replied that she was 15, clearly not understanding the question's sudden purpose. Lucas sternly warned her not to stare at him like that, finally revealing they were, in fact, cousins. Iowa reeled back, reacting with utter indignation. She declared, "I've never heard of a cousin," and promptly decided to utterly humiliate him in front of everyone. She then furiously cast a powerful spell, aiming it directly at him. With the magic fiercely activated, she brazenly ordered him to perform a humiliating action right there and embarrass himself. But the spell had zero effect on Lucas. The girl was perplexed by the situation. He then questioned the kind of education the Miranda family offered, using mental magic on a relative she just met. Iowa couldn't believe her best magic failed. He asked if she really thought she could control a martial artist. With that, an examiner called for the next one, Lucas, Ryan, and he announced he had to go. Another examiner called for Julia. Iowa pointed at the girl. She warned her not to get cocky because she would be first in this test. Lucas looked at the scoreboard. The list showed Julia Ryan in first place, followed by Iowa Miranda in second. He decided he couldn't let Iowa take first place from Julia. To ensure his own quiet life, someone then offered Julia candy. Julia tasted the candy and asked what it was, and if it was good then, he slapped her back to help her. She coughed and called him a liar, complaining it wasn't candy, but super bitter medicine. Lucas apologized. He explained it was a special magic potion, and she would feel the effects. Soon he was called to enter and ran to the arena, but Julia yelled that she didn't believe him anymore. He walked toward the metal mannequin, where the examiner waited. The examiner instructed, "No. 5. To attack the target with his full-strength magic for evaluation." But before starting, Lucas interrupted. He stated he couldn't use magic. He clenched his fist and asked if he could just hit the target. In the audience, a group of students mocked him, predicting he'd just break his hand. One guy then noticed Lucas's sister standing right next to him. Julia restrained herself. She stated she wasn't attacking them only because her brother asked her to behave. Iowa turned to her and asked if her brother really couldn't use magic. The girl confirmed he couldn't, but she asserted that he was still an amazing person, and no one had the right to mock him. Her cousin observed her, believing there was a limit to a martial artist's strength, and that Julia was just being deceived. Suddenly a powerful impact echoed through the arena. Dust rose in front of the crowd. Iowa reacted to what just happened. She wondered what that was. 2 minutes earlier, Lucas had asked the examiner if just one hit would be enough. The man replied he didn't care how he attacked. Lucas then prepared for his strike. His martial arts skills grew exponentially. Every 3 levels, his strongest technique received a major boost at level 3. Now that the skill reached level 6, its power was on another level. He advanced with a high-speed punch. Target was the mannequin's head. The impact of the blow launched the metal mannequin backward. A cloud of dust spread through the arena. The mannequin, it plummeted to the ground, a gaping hole now torn through its chest. Lucas intently eyed the mannequin, now sprawled lifelessly on the floor. Iowa watched him, her eyes widening as she recognized his incredible speed. It was comparable to high-level wind magic, and his devastating Attack packed the punch of a curse rank spell. The other students reacted with an audible gasp of surprise. She realized she was the only one who had truly noticed his true, terrifying strength. Analyzing him on the screen, she concluded he was undoubtedly hiding his real power. The examiner then congratulated him, announcing a perfect score. Lucas nonchalantly offered to help clean up the now broken mannequin. His name blazed brightly on the scoreboard, and he subtly signaled to Julia. The girl inwardly celebrated his impressive result. She was thrilled he managed to hide his strength, and deftly avoid a crushing 0. As the exams continued, fewer students paid any attention to Lucas's subtly destructive power, but everyone was absolutely captivated by Julia's truly rare talent. She then began to gather an immense amount of power, completely surprising the candidates. Around her, she focused the surging power into her staff. Next, a brilliant spell circle ignited and formed at her feet. She then dramatically announced the descent of lightning, and a massive lightning bolt was conjured, violently tearing down from the skies. The attack slammed into the mannequin. Spectators commented that type of magic was absolutely ideal for attacking. The crowd reacted, utterly impressed by the honor students' raw power, while one of them pointed directly to the arena. Julia was sitting on the ground. Other candidates wondered if the lightning had hit her so hard she couldn't possibly get up. She remained utterly bewildered on the floor, completely not understanding what had just happened. The examiner then announced Julia Ryan's score, a solid 9.5. He then called the next candidate. Back with Lucas, she frantically explained she used the spell, and a lightning bolt fell out of nowhere, which completely terrified her. The girl continued, saying that even at full strength, the lightning seemed far more active and potent than usual. He just watched her silently for a moment. The astonishing effect was, of course, caused by the potion he gave her, but Lucas decided not to tell her. In this world, both mages and martial artists had their own distinct techniques for creating potions. Mages dedicated themselves to meticulously brewing potions, while martial artists skillfully refined elixirs. Magic potions required a medium, but elixirs, made through meticulous refinement, could be absorbed directly by the body. In the past, various powerful elixirs were created, but with the unfortunate decline of martial arts, refining elixirs became incredibly difficult. Very few martial artists in the modern era could create the mage essence elixir that so dramatically boosted Julia's power. This was because creating that elixir required the refinement ability to be at level 6. Currently, the only other person capable of such a feat was the legendary level 9 martial artist, Duke Reddy Susan. Lucas decided to keep his level 6 ability an absolute, guarded secret, to meticulously avoid any trouble. Time passed outside the academy. While waiting impatiently on a bench, Julia asked if it wasn't over yet. Lucas replied, they just needed to wait for the class assignments. A voice then brightly called out for Julia and Lucas. Mina approached them, waving excitedly near a buzzing bulletin board. Lucas stood up and asked what she was doing there. She explained she came to post the class assignments, and congratulated them for getting first place. Julia celebrated the news that she was first in the elite class. Lucas congratulated her, and she celebrated with him for passing into the elite class too. Then Mina asked Julia if there was any department she wanted to join next year, leaving her confused by the question. Mina explained that the academy had 5 departments. All students were assigned to one after the first year. The girl then deduced that based on her attribute, she would probably go to the wind department. Mina then grabbed her and said she would wait for her in the wind department. Julia agreed to the proposal. Lucas noted that Mina was already recruiting people. While she offered to take Julia to the female dormitory, Julia said goodbye to her brother, saying she'd see him later. Lucas waved goodbye, asking Mina to take care of his sister, before heading to the martial arts department. The students announced that the class assignments were published. Julia Ryan got first place as expected. One student commented that the other freshmen were just extras to make the genius stand out. The final scoreboard showed Julia Ryan in first place in the elite class. Iowa swore that one day she would take first place from Lucas, and Julia. Lucas already knew the martial arts department wasn't a priority, but he wondered if anyone could actually live in a building that looked ready to collapse. At least a place like that would be quiet enough for the peaceful school life he wanted. A guy approached him asking if he was Lucas, the department's top-ranked student. He introduced himself as Kai Toro, from the same department, and greeted him. Lucas ignored him and headed to the registration desk. As he signed the papers, Kai praised him for launching the dummy into the air, but Lucas just said it was luck. An older man handed over a key, saying his room was on the 2nd floor. Seeing the key was for room 2, 5, Kai cheered that they'd be rooming together. The two walked down a rundown hallway looking for the room. Kai and Lucas were surprised to find someone else already. Inside, the guy introduced himself as Sharp along with his friend Collins. He said they'd all be roommates from now on. Kai reacted to the news. Their room was in terrible condition. Kai questioned what kind of room this was. He reacted with disgust, claiming the place was worse than a pigsty then. Startled by a spider, he asked Lucas if he really intended to stay in such a filthy room. Lucas just watched his reaction. The boy showed a coin. He held it up, offering it as a reward to whoever cleaned the room. As Sharp and Collins cleaned, Lucas watched the scene. Kai approached and tried to reassure him, saying living conditions should improve. An older man knocked on the door, announcing he was there to deliver uniforms. He informed them the entrance. The grand ceremony was just moments away, poised to begin in the main hall, so they had to quickly change and rush to the venue. Kai scoffed indignantly at the uniforms, loudly complaining he'd look absolutely destitute if forced to wear such rags. The man then revealed the school had a unique request system designed to improve student treatment. He hinted that a well-placed request could even result in a complete uniform overhaul. Armed with this thrilling new information, Kai practically sprinted to the hall. They soon arrived, entering the academy's majestic main hall. Lucas strode confidently across the floor, now sporting the brand-new uniform. He stepped into the awe-inspiring, grand hall. He carefully observed the magnificent structure of the entire place. His roommates were visibly impressed, but Kai, ever stubborn, claimed it was absolutely nothing compared to his opulent house. He scanned the massive crowd, searching for Julia. Kai pointed out that, of course, the elite class occupied the front rows, and there she was, sitting prominently in the very first row. Plus, the elite class uniform was undeniably next level. Kai then warned him that their department's assigned seats were relegated to the furthest reaches in the very back. Lucas promptly decided not to go, casually remarking the uniform looked far better on Julia anyway. A student grumbled, complaining that their seats were ridiculously too far. They questioned aloud if this was blatant discrimination, specifically targeting the martial arts department. Lucas calmly took his seat, while a mysterious girl next to him watched him intently. Suddenly, candles on stage ignited, flaring up with a powerful, great flame. A mesmerizing flower of fire then materialized in someone's outstretched hand, floating effortlessly onto the stage, a display of his Level 6 ability. He boldly declared that all new students should feel immensely honored. He continued his compelling speech, formally introducing himself as none other than the student council president. Back on the ground, Theodore Paloma announced he would now unveil the school's crucial point system. Female students in the audience gasped and reacted intensely to his very presence, practically calling him a genius. Lucas, meanwhile, watched him silently and observantly from his humble seat in the back of the hall. Theodore then explained that here at Allen Magic Academy, the all-encompassing point system served as the basis for almost everything. He detailed that powerful magical abilities, rare books, even tamed beasts, and even personalized guidance from great masters could all be thrillingly obtained with points. He added there were various ways to acquire these coveted points, but cautioned that manual labor earned very, very little. It was far more efficient to strategically earn points by actively participating in thrilling department events, or by successfully guiding freshmen. Lucas then instantly understood why Mina was so eagerly helping them. Theodore concluded by stating that becoming a coveted student council member guaranteed an incredibly stable income of points every single month. Lucas listened intently to every single word of the speech. Theodore continued, thrillingly revealing that, although undeniably risky, there was also the adrenaline-pumping option of monster hunting. He explained that directly behind the school lay the formidable magical beast, mountain range, where students could bravely hunt them for valuable points. Upon hearing the iconic name of the mountain range, Lucas instinctively clenched his fist, and a triumphant smile spread across his face as he instantly realized it was a training ground tailor-made perfectly for him. A few hours later, night finally fell over the serene academy dorms. Inside one of the quiet rooms, a young man slept soundly in his bed, as tranquil incense burned slowly, keeping the room's unsuspecting occupants deeply asleep. But then, Lucas Ryan cunningly sneaked out, shattering the tranquility. The tranquilizing incense was deliberately used, so he could slip away, heading straight for the home of the magical beasts. He suddenly recalled the martial arts department building was nestled at the campus's very back. Lucas then concluded the magical beasts' lair lay hidden right behind that very wall. He vaulted effortlessly over the towering wall. The boy landed squarely on the other side, in untamed territory. Lucas pressed onward through the dense forest, while several unknown creatures gave chase. He vaulted upwards, delivering a powerful downward kick right onto a monster that appeared in his path. His foot connected squarely with the creature's head. The sheer impact of its body hitting the ground sent a massive cloud of dust skyward. The creature lay motionless, embedded within a small crater. One of the monster's sharp horns had snapped off from the impact of his blow. From atop a tree, Lucas swiftly identified the creature as a giant, black-horned toad. Holding the broken horn, Lucas explained these were poisonous, meaning they were perfect for potent magic potions and would surely earn him a good amount of points. He remembered hearing a rumor that Allen Magic Academy supposedly held legendary martial arts books in its archives. Gazing at the distant mountains, the boy declared he was short on time and first needed to identify the monster's precise locations. Then, he covered one eye, activating a special ability. His perception instantly expanded over a vast area of the forest. A level 1 giant rat opened its maw, ready to strike him. But Lucas struck it with a powerful blow, ordering it to sleep. Next, he punched a level 2 two-eyed bat and expertly dodged the strike of a level 3 magic-crested panther. Small, sharp explosions echoed throughout the forest. Satisfied, Lucas commented that he'd achieved a great result, with materials he could use to refine elixirs, and others he could easily exchange for points. While dragging a surprisingly heavy sack, he realized the area was far too quiet. He touched the ground and noticed almost no traces of other magical beasts. Lucas then wondered if a powerful creature lived nearby, causing this silence. Lucas then knelt, concentrating to feel the area around him. He felt a powerful presence emanating from a distinct trail in the forest. Lucas soon found the entrance to a dark cave. A dark emanation pulsed from deep inside the hole. A fierce, snarling wolf with menacing glowing eyes revealed itself in the darkness. A wide smile spread across Lucas's face. Lucas said, "I found it." He then leaped through the trees, realizing the creature, a kilometer away, had also noticed him. The young man left his heavy sack of items at the cave entrance, then stepped forward, boldly entering the creature's lair. A huge level 6 fire and ice wolf then emerged, snarling fiercely at him. The creature stared down at the boy with truly intimidating eyes. Lucas understood that, being a wolf, it made perfect sense for it to be so territorial. The beast charged, its mouth open wide to attack. His fist clenched, he boldly invited it to confront him. Lucas then landed a powerful punch directly on the wolf's paw, and the creature immediately retaliated with a powerful blast of ice. Lucas blocked the attack, covering his very fist with ice. The wolf momentarily retreated, surprised by the unexpected defense. He then shattered the ice away and landed a direct, powerful punch to the creature's face. As the mighty wolf reeled, momentarily stunned, Lucas sprang back, a sharp shard of ice clutched in hand. The massive beast staggered, crashing hard against the cave wall. Looming over the now fallen creature, he lamented that with just a bit more training, he could have inflicted so much more damage. Lucas provoked it, daring the beast to rise again, declaring their battle far from over, and the wolf rose again. It began to concentrate a searing sphere of fire within its maw. Then, it unleashed an immense, scorching blast of flames. The blazing explosion consumed everything in the surrounding area. Amidst the raging flames, the creature stood its ground, defiant. The wolf howled, a guttural cry tearing through the air, unleashing its primal fury. But Lucas suddenly appeared beside it, completely unharmed by the attack. The boy prepared himself for another devastating blow, while the beast stared, bewildered, and landed a powerful, bone-jarring punch to the wolf's stomach. The sheer impact of the blow left the creature completely stunned. The creature was thrown back with incredible force, crashing against the cave wall. Then, the wolf finally collapsed to the ground. Finally defeated, Lucas watched the magnificent, fallen animal and commented on its rare ability to freely control both fire and ice. But even wounded, the wolf fixed its intense gaze upon him. The creature's eye revealed a truly unusual, intricate pattern. With its eyes shining brightly in the dim light, Lucas declared that this was a truly rare magical beast indeed. As Lucas carefully approaches the wolf, the beast suddenly unleashes a simultaneous, devastating blast of fire and ice from its gaping maw. He stares down the beast's incredible dual elemental attack. 2 blasts of raw, elemental power hurl toward him. Lucas spots steam rising where the opposing elements violently collide. A swift, unexpected attack grazes him. The wolf seizes the distraction to make its escape. The beast bolts, sprinting at high speed, to exit the cave. But Lucas immediately leaps after it, yelling that he won't let it get away. He reaches out, desperately trying to grab the creature. He manages to snag the wolf's tail. With a powerful spin, he hurls it into the air, left holding only a clump of fur. Lucas casually remarks that fighting a giant magical beast is good practice, and it must be worth a lot of points. Suddenly, a look of surprise crosses his face at something he sees. Another identical wolf suddenly appears and attacks the creature he was just fighting. Lucas leaps backward, deftly dodging the assault. One wolf unleashes a torrent of flames in his direction. Meanwhile, the other attacks ferociously from above. The first wolf intensifies its blazing fire attack. Lucas dives toward the ground, yelling at them to quiet down. He slams his fist into the ground, generating a massive shockwave. His clenched fist trembles with the sheer force of the impact. The blow's energy ripples powerfully throughout the entire cave. The two wolves pin him down, and he wonders if this is where he'll finally be defeated. He concludes he has no other choice but to use his last resort. Two enormous paws slam into the ground right where he just was. He looks up, eyeing the new threat. An even larger wolf lands with a thud right in front of him. The giant creature drops a shimmering fire core and an icy core onto the ground before him. Lucas wonders if those are beast cores in this world. Some magical beasts are born with a core containing all their immense power. If a human's vital energy touches that core, this creature is about to become their newly tamed beast. So, Lucas confidently asks if the magnificent wolf desires to become his loyal servant. A confident smile playing on his lips, the young man emphatically affirms that he accepts the grand proposal. He truly considers this an unexpected and incredible acquisition. Not even powerful mages typically possess a formidable level 6 tamed beast. Yet, the wolf doesn't quite seem to be the sharpest tool in the shed. Proud magical beasts, after all, would never submit to a mere human. Lucas then smoothly performs the necessary, ancient ritual. He carefully transfers a sliver of his own energy into the two glowing cores. Then, he offers these powerful cores to the waiting wolf. The creature swiftly absorbs them deep into its body. Surprised, Lucas suddenly hears a clear voice calling him master. He looks around frantically, trying to pinpoint the source of that mysterious voice. The wolf then reveals, it's Times that's speaking. And Lucas instantly realizes he can perfectly understand the magnificent creature. Lucas affectionately calls him a good boy, and promptly decides to name him OOL. The mighty beast readily agrees. He then wonders aloud if OOL's entire territory now truly belongs to him, and, more importantly, if there's any epic loot from its past hunts. The wolf, with a determined glint in its eyes, looks to the side. The wolf then rubs its large snout against Lucas's face with undeniable affection. OOL then enthusiastically beckons him to follow it to its hidden treasure. And Lucas, utterly impressed, praises its surprising intelligence. The pair then venture boldly deeper into the cave's dark depths. They pass by various grotesque creatures, all sleeping soundly while hanging ominously from the ceiling. The overwhelming stench forces Lucas to instinctively cover his nose. Soon, they discover a massive pile containing the valuable hide of a fearsome level 6 magical beast, the ancient remains of some long-forgotten creature, and even a dazzling array of precious gems. He's absolutely surprised to realize it's quite literally a genuine treasure trove. But OOL quickly corrects him, explaining that Times isn't Times, his Time's true treasure. The items left by past adventurers near these ancient remains are, in fact, the master's treasure. Then, the creature proudly guides him to a gleaming collection of beast cores. All are level 3 or higher, astonishingly including 2 formidable level 6s. The wolf then explains that it devoured all the cores that possessed potent water and fire attributes. The narration then dramatically reveals that to truly level up, a magical beast must consume a core from another beast of equal or even higher power. This incredible feat means OOL bravely defeated at least 2 opponents, who were just as strong, if not stronger, than himself. Lucas enthusiastically congratulates him on such a job well done, and, as a token of appreciation, he gives him a special reward. The wolf eagerly sniffs it, declaring with delight that it smells good. OOL immediately seems invigorated and powerful after consuming the mysterious item. Lucas explains it's a potent healing potion, one that surprisingly works wonders even on mighty magical beasts. He then tasks OOL with recovering and fiercely guarding the newfound treasure. OOL enthusiastically accepts this crucial first mission. Standing proudly beside OOL, Lucas announces it's finally time for their next grand step. A discreet smile subtly forms on his lips. The very next day, the warm sun brightly illuminates the academy's majestic, imposing classroom building. Lucas and Sharp casually enter the classroom, where Iowa Miranda is already seated, letting out a massive yawn. Lucas comments that, despite pulling an intense all-nighter, he feels no fatigue at all, thanks to his special sleep incense. He recalls attempting to count his vast treasure, but OOL just wouldn't stop playfully bothering him. The clock on the wall then indicates that class is moments away from beginning. Yet, the martial arts department classroom remains conspicuously almost empty. Sharp wonders where their teacher is and why no one else has arrived. Kai Taroi then suggests the administration. Could they have forgotten to assign them a teacher? But Lucas finds that extremely unlikely. Shuffling, footsteps echo from the hallway as a man stumbles inside, kicks a bottle, and immediately complains about feeling hungover. Sharp intently watches the scene, but Lucas maintains a perfectly neutral expression. The newcomer lazily leans against the door, then introduces himself as Shigart, the notorious head of the martial arts department. And with that, he loudly announces the start of class. Lucas watches him, still utterly silent. Shigart scribbles his name onto the chalkboard. He turns to the class, holding up a small book. Kai Taro stares down the teacher with an angry glare. He loudly demands to know if this guy is Times. Really Times? Their professor, bluntly noting he certainly doesn't look the part at all. With a blur of motion, Lucas swiftly strikes him. Kai sits down, utterly stunned by the sudden action. That quick movement makes Lucas crack a smile. The professor coolly announces roll call. No one leaves without permission. He calls for Tishy, who promptly answers, "Here." Next is Lucas, and the young man raises his hand, calmly confirming his presence. After Collins answers, Shigart calls for Sharp. Silence. The professor snaps the book shut with a loud Times thud, asterisk, and declares, "Everyone's present." Shigart coolly claims he forgot the textbooks, then appoints Tishy as class representative to fetch them. The girl points to herself in utter disbelief. The professor confirms it's her. Kai Taro dramatically shoots up, protesting that the rep should be chosen Times fairly asterisk. He boasts that with his impressive family background and skills, asterisk, he Times should absolutely be the one chosen. Then, something suddenly smacks him right in the face. Shigart gestures casually with his hand, reminding him he already gave a warning. He reiterates, "No speaking without permission," he instructs Tishy to hand out the books for self-study. Then he abruptly leaves the room. The young woman realizes this is her chance to change her fate. Kai grumbles endlessly about the professor. Lucas keenly observes, there's definitely something truly off about the man. Kai boldly suggests reporting him to the administration. Meanwhile, Lucas keenly observes Shigeru's walk, noting clear signs of an old injury. Lucas wonders just how incredibly strong the professor was before he got hurt. He coolly tells Kai he never agreed to complain. Kai loudly questions his attitude. A few hours later, outside the cafeteria, Lucas decides a strong, mysterious teacher actually makes things far more interesting. Outside, Kai greets a classmate and loudly gripes that they only had self-study because of Times professor. He keeps ranting about the master's blatant irresponsibility, until Julia suddenly calls out to her, "Big brother." Lucas gently pats her head, asking about her first class of the day. Julia excitedly says her teacher, Miss Linda, is super cool, and even encouraged her to run for class representative next week. She asks if the martial arts department chose one yet, and if it was Times him asterisk. Smiling, Lucas replies, "It wasn't." He then invites them to lunch, casually mentioning he heard the food is absolutely delicious. Julia runs ahead excitedly, leaving Kai behind, yelling for them to wait. At Allen Magic Academy, even meals are a crucial part of the point exchange system. New students can only exchange cash for points times once asterisk. The elite class dishes look absolutely appetizing, and Julia dives right in. She samples the food, then eagerly tells her big brother to eat up. Kai just watches silently, wiping a hand across his face. He grumbles, pointing out they both paid a single coin, but the elite class earned a whopping 100 points. Meanwhile, the martial arts department only scraped together 10. A staff member curtly tells him to leave if he has a problem. Kai realizes even the staff members openly discriminate against the martial arts students. She asserts that untalented students must work incredibly hard and save every point. Kai feels like he's lost his basic rights just by enrolling here. Sweet Julia offers Kai a plate piled high with food. Touched by her kindness, he calls her a sweet, gentle girl. Lucas notes his classmate is being just a times tad times dramatic. Just as Kai settles in next to Lucas, Maya Rasta gracefully approaches their table, Smiling brightly, she greets Lucas and Julia, noting, "We meet again." Julia invites Maya to join them, but the young woman graciously declines with thanks, explaining she already ate. Instead, she offers them delicious cookies. She baked to thank them for their help the other day. The little girl eagerly accepts the sweets with a big smile. Lucas tries a cookie and immediately compliments Maya, praising her as a truly great cook. The young woman blushes and smiles at the praise. Kai eagerly leans into Lucas and practically begs for a cookie. He compliments the sweet treat and enthusiastically introduces himself as Kai Taroy. Maya Rasta introduces herself in return. Lucas simply watches the charming interaction unfold. Julia waves goodbye as Maya gracefully walks away from their table. Lucas then wryly comments that the cafeteria is a truly terrible place to meet new people. Suddenly, Mina approaches their table and shyly asks if the food is any good. She greets Lucas shyly. Suddenly, Theodore, Palomel descends from upstairs, making a grand entrance with fire magic. The boy truly shows off, floating dramatically through the cafeteria. After a flashy landing, Theodore just plops onto a bench to rest. Lucas, meanwhile, calmly eats a cookie, remembering the entrance ceremony. He glances to the side, noticing something peculiar. He watches Professor Shigart, walking away, openly drinking from a bottle. The man takes another long swig, then he casually leaves the cafeteria and strides across the academy grounds. Shortly after, Shigart opens a door. Inside the room, two men immediately comment that he's the last to arrive times again *. One remarks, he thought taking over the martial arts department would somehow straighten him out. The other replies, you can't blame him after what happened. Now seated at the meeting table, Shigart casually stretches. A sharp-eyed blonde woman stares at him from across the room. She watches him with a deadly serious expression. Someone taps their fingers impatiently on the table to get attention. With everyone finally gathered, the meeting officially begins. An older man dramatically announces the agenda, the magical beast taming tournament. It's an annual, cherished tradition in the Carmina Empire for all Allen Magic Academy freshmen to eagerly participate. An instructor reports, they have already prepared over 2,000 level 1 magical beasts for the event, which will be held in just 6 days. Just like every year, one professor brazenly suggests the martial arts students should just sit this one out. It would be a complete waste of their time. He slams his hand on the table, but Shigart immediately stands up and vehemently objects. The professor justifies himself, claiming he was only thinking of the students. An instructor boldly interrupts, throwing their full support behind Mr. Shigard. She asserts that since they're just freshmen, still fresh-faced and new, martial arts students absolutely must be required to participate. Another teacher chimes in, nodding in agreement, stating emphatically that all students should be treated equally. The man wonders aloud, a puzzled frown on his face, why there are still professors who side with Shigard on this, especially as Linda, Shigard, and the instructor intensely stare down the dissenting professor until he yields to their insistence. But he can't help but claim the students will just end up absolutely terrified. An older man finally declares, with a resounding boom, that it's decided. The martial arts department will participate in the tournament. The dissenting professor, defeated, quietly leaves the room. Another instructor cautiously approaches Linda, asking if she's truly sure about this whole endeavor. He explains that while martial arts absolutely require real combat, the taming tournament might just be too harsh for these students. Linda just offers a faint, mysterious smile in response. She remembers something someone told her a long, long time ago. Shigard had asserted that a coward cannot, under any circumstances, call themselves a martial artist. Any student who refuses to participate in the tournament will have to leave the department immediately. It is then dramatically announced that the magical beast taming tournament will officially be held in just 6 short days. The professor informs the eager class that after today's lesson, they will dive straight into practical combat training. The goal? So everyone can confidently defeat a magical beast. Kai Taroy questions the very point of participating, reminding everyone the tournament is just to choose a class rep, and they already have one already. The professor quickly tells the student to be quiet. Class is about to start. Lucas rests his chin on his hand, his gaze drifting away from the scene. Outside, the students begin their intense training. During a particularly grueling session, a female student is fiercely shoved against a sturdy wooden pillar. Tissy readies her combat stance, while one student comments to another that everyone passed the rigorous entrance exam, so they really aren't that bad. Tissy attacks with a powerful kick that spectacularly kicks up the dirt. Lucas deftly dodges a classmate's attack, sending the attacker stumbling clumsily backward. Shigar raises a bottle, a glint in his eye, and announces it's late, finally ending the day's grueling training. Kai Toro immediately plops onto the ground, sighing that it's finally time's over. Collins approaches Sharp, advising him he'll bring his food later tonight. Kai asks if Collins made Times another Time's sneaky deal. Collins explains he traded a coin for the food. Sharp asks why he wasn't informed about such an incredible deal. Collins apologizes profusely and promises Sharp he can have the very next one, which Sharp readily and eagerly accepts. Lucas watches their interaction with a slight smirk. Kai approaches Lucas, asking if he isn't exactly very bright. He puts his arm around Lucas, generously offering to teach him for free. Lucas smiles, thanks him for the offer, but politely declines. Kai then, with a sudden realization, remembers Lucas has a sister in the elite class, and therefore doesn't need to worry about points. Later that night, Lucas reflects that Kai got at times all times wrong. He asserts that even without Julia, his amazing sister, he absolutely doesn't worry about food. Lucas wipes his mouth, murmuring, nature's bounty is right here. He prepares to cook a magnificent, large piece of meat. The succulent meat roasts slowly, sizzling over a crackling campfire. Sitting contentedly by the fire, he thinks he could totally use dinner time for extra training if he didn't have to take Julia home. He remembers how the vice president, Mina, tried to get suspiciously close to Julia today. He knows he simply can't let his guard down, not ever. He's decided, if she even thinks of ill intent, he'll shut it down instantly. Ull's tail wags furiously, drawing his attention, as Ull appears, captivated by the roasting meat. Lucas offers the succulent meat to Ull, telling him to dig in. Ull wastes no time, devouring every bite. Lucas then warns that after this feast, it's training time. He promises a safe workout, but don't be fooled. Their training takes place deep within the forest. Meanwhile, back at the Ryan family estate, a lone woman sits, alone on a balcony at night. Holt approaches from behind, asking if she's lost in thought about the children once more. She confirms it. He comments that their lessons have likely begun by now. Holt suggests she should go visit them if her heart yearns for them so much. He offers to take her, as he needs to pass through Daku City for his work. She thanks him for the generous offer. The woman expresses her sheer joy at the thought of seeing her children. At Count Grindel's grand estate, several hooded figures gather in a dimly lit, opulent hall. 3 masked members silently observe their surroundings. A green-haired woman extends a welcoming hand to Jessica, expressing her delight that she could make it. She invites her to take a seat. Jessica Ryan, her face hidden by a mask, keenly observes her hostess. The hostess proudly presents her latest creation, Jade Dream, a mesmerizing, special drink. Jessica takes an offered goblet, its liquid shimmering invitingly. The green-haired woman picks up a small vial containing a rare, potent essence. She adds a few precious drops to the mixture as the finishing touch. She then urges everyone to enjoy. The hostess glides through the hall, then dramatically announces the start of the day's activity. Jessica remains seated, her eyes fixed on the unfolding scene, goblet still in hand. Jessica questions how an 11-year-old girl could have utterly destroyed the Black Wind group. She explains that Julia was blessed with a rare level 7 power. The hostess comments that the girl inherited the extraordinary talent of both the Catherine and Miranda families, but the green-haired woman insists a mere level 7 shouldn't have been enough to defeat them. She grabs Jessica's ear, a menacing glint in her eye, declaring her daughter's efforts will ultimately bear no fruit. The hostess lifts her chin, then asks if she desires to eliminate Catherine and her daughter to become the Baroness. Jessica agrees, then asks what steps she must take. The green-haired woman simply smiles. She places a cryptic symbol on the table. The hostess remarks that the moment a tender young sprout withers away is truly beautiful. Tishy mentions hearing they'll be tackling more practical combat training that very morning, but some students complain their entire bodies ache, calling Mr. Shigar a monster. She admits it hurts, but asserts it's all to get stronger. A classmate questions her. Lucas and Kai, however, boldly claim to feel no pain at all, and Tishy watches them, wide-eyed. Then Kai loudly brags about being the strongest in the class, backed up by his cheering friends. Lucas simply watches the chaotic scene from afar. Tishy notes the 4 of them seem completely fine, and concludes they'll become truly great martial artists. Kai charges into combat, yelling for them to begin the brawl. Lucas expertly blocks his opponent's powerful punch. Kai watches, stunned, as his hand is utterly stopped. Then Lucas unleashes a lightning-fast palm strike against him. He braces himself for any counterattack. With a single, explosive blow, he sends Kai and the others flying. Back Kai, praising him, exclaims, "That wasn't bad at all." Lucas replies, "Neither were you." Lucas intently watches the other students training, from a distance, then sharply turns his head, feeling an uncanny sense of being watched. An elderly man is meditating serenely under a sprawling tree. Kai approaches, questioning, "Is that old guy really him?" Seizing the distraction, Kai swiftly attacks him, yelling, "You left an opening." But the attack spectacularly fails, and he's promptly thrown sprawling to the ground. He gets up, determined, telling Lucas not to look away, because they'll fight relentlessly until there's a clear winner. Lucas simply agrees, calmly preparing to continue. The old man then slowly gets up and departs. A young woman then asks to Director Otani if he's returning to the library, but he firmly refuses her company. The director muses, calling him a truly fascinating young man. He realizes the boy is masterfully hiding his true strength. He decides he'll definitely remember the name Lucas, since even he cannot fully assess his remarkable abilities. While Kai celebrates his victory, several hours later, class finally ends. He recalls that, earlier in the afternoon, Mr. Shigart taught practical massage techniques, stating it was important for everyone to learn. A classmate of Lucas, massages Sharp, who exclaims, "That's exactly the right spot." Lucas reflects that the effect was truly incredible, and now it's time to finally progress in this new training field. He decides to first head out and buy the materials he needs for it. The Allen Magic Academy's Magic Supply store boasts a large selection of incredibly rare products. He enters the place, immediately comparing it to a bustling mall. A high-quality mannequin costs a hefty 30 points, and like everywhere else, he has to pay exclusively with points. He realizes the selection is indeed fantastic, but everything is outrageously expensive. It looks like he'll be spending over 1,000 points a month. He remembers that Julia earns a significant amount of points, but he can't keep depending on her indefinitely. He'd feel terrible if she lost her lunch money just for today. He decides to just buy the magic potion to mix into his bath for now. Next time, he'll trade materials from the cave for points. The shop clerk is quietly dozing at her desk. She lifts her head, waking as Lucas approaches the counter and requests the item he wants. The clerk informs him the total will be 5 points. He uses his card to make the payment. The woman notices, from his uniform, that he's a martial arts student and is spending half his initial 10 points all at once. The clerk confirms the 5-point payment and hands him the requested product. And Lucas thanks her. She questions if he can truly use all that, warning that he'll certainly regret it if he wastes his precious points. But he replies confidently that he doesn't think it will be enough, and that he'll definitely be back to buy even more. The clerk quickly concludes he must be a noble, since martial arts students typically don't have potion classes. She leans back in her chair, grumbling and complaining that this is precisely why I hate nobles. That night, deep within his cave, Lucas relaxes in a steaming hot bath. He reflects that mixing the potion directly into the bath doesn't make the potent medicinal effect disappear, and that it would be a terrible waste to simply throw it all away. He then grimly considers that he absolutely can't make someone else drink his bathwater. UAI then dramatically emerges from the darkness behind him. Lucas gets out of the bath, feeling thoroughly satisfied, and he decides to grab some materials, hoping to trade them for precious points. He resolves to stick to only common, level 2 materials, trying not to draw any unwanted attention. But then, a creature suddenly emerges from the water right behind him. He whips around, only to see UAI casually drinking the bathwater, and Lucas, utterly baffled, asks him what he's doing, peeking out from behind the barrel. Lucas, still in disbelief, asks if UAI really drank all the water. The wolf just stares back at him, unblinking. Lucas then steps out of the tub, saying it doesn't matter anymore, since that will only strengthen UAI's body as well. UAI thanks him, then boldly asks for some meat as well. So Lucas, chuckling, calls him a glutton, commenting that this totally solves the wasted water problem. He plans to trade these materials for points in 3 days, and will hide the tools near the dorms for now. Back at the shop, the clerk sees him lugging a heavy tool and offers magic assistance, but he politely refuses. She waves goodbye, sweetly calling him a blessed child. Shigar reminds everyone that the taming tournament is tomorrow, and asks if they're truly taking it seriously. He sternly tells the students not to slack off. They can just quit and go home if they don't want to train. The teacher points out that Sharp's leg is way too high, leaving him completely vulnerable. and then turns to Kai, questioning Kai's embarrassingly weak punch, but the student quickly retorts that he already beat Lucas, Sharp, and Collins. The teacher hits Kai, then whirls around to ask the other three if they truly lost to that guy. Lucas, Sharp, and Collins hesitantly confirm that they did. Shigar puts his hand to his face, groaning and complaining that this is exactly why spoiled nobles are such a problem. He then instructs Tichy to fight Kai, and she readily accepts. The two position themselves on the training field. Kai warns he won't hold back, declaring he'll prove he's the absolute fittest to be the class representative. Tichy simply, with a cool smirk, invites him to start. He advances with a fierce kick, yelling for her to take the hit. Kai even smiles during the attack, but Tichy brutally hits him squarely in the stomach, making him recoil violently from the impact. Her arm moves incredibly quickly. She blocks his next punch with her leg, and coolly asks what he thinks of that. Kai reacts to her swift counterattack, but with a single, powerful blow, Tichy launches him flying away. Kai lies on the ground, a visible mark appearing on his forehead. He immediately blocks her next strike and yells not to be underestimated. Tichy then prepares another devastating palm attack, and with a single, crushing blow, she launches him flying away. Again, Lucas watches the spectacular defeat and comments that now he understands why the teacher made Tichy the class representative. Shigar orders everyone to take their training seriously. Tichy approaches Kai, coolly asking if he's okay. The teacher warns that tomorrow, everyone must tame at least one magical beast. He threatens to expel anyone who fails. From the martial arts department, Shigar announces, this is the final stretch, and they will fight with absolutely everything. They have until sunset. Lucas helps Kai up from the floor, telling Kai his defense is an absolute mess, but he'll be fine if he just corrects that bad habit. But Kai, surprisingly, denies it. He dramatically declares his newfound love for Tichy. He explains why this is such a revelation. It was the very first time he'd ever been bested by a girl, and he's already brainstorming names for their future children. The next day, students are given a crucial instruction to enter the imposing gate in an orderly, disciplined fashion. Kai gasps, commenting on the sheer enormity of the place. He nervously wonders just how many magical beasts lurk inside. As fear begins to creep in, two students from a rival department openly mock the martial arts students. They jeer, claiming the martial artists will be instantly annihilated. Shigar, ever the pragmatist, instructs his students to use this valuable time to memorize the tournament rules, instead of fretting over such trivial, useless worries. Meanwhile, Lucas calmly takes his seat next to his teacher in the bleachers. The boy glances to the side, noticing Kai's apprehension. Kai admits he's feeling pretty nervous, but Lucas, with a mischievous grin, advises him to pretend the magical beasts are Mr. Shigert. Lucas then clarifies his ingenious strategy. Those beasts are times weak, asterisk. He tells Kai to just visualize himself absolutely thrashing Mr. Shigert. The very idea instantly hypes Kai up, but a stern voice cuts through the excitement. Shigert? He warns them he can hear times every single word, times they're uttering. Lucas, unfazed, reminds him that a low-level magic beast can't possibly breach his legendary defense. Kai, startled, promises not to make times that times mistake again. Shigert watches Lucas dole out surprisingly sound advice. Meanwhile, an official announcer suddenly appears on a towering screen. Julia dramatically announces the highly anticipated start of the tournament. She calls for the very first group of eager competitors to bravely enter. The announcer then swiftly explains the critical rules. Taming exactly 10 magic beasts earns a perfect, coveted score, and competitors have a strict time limit of 10 minutes. Julia confidently steps into what appears to be a shimmering barrier space. She wonders aloud how so many ferocious magic beasts could possibly fit inside such an unassuming tiny hut. Then, two massive beasts with razor-sharp teeth suddenly materialize right in front of her. She quickly assumes everyone else is lurking at the back of the hut and instantly readies her attack. Casting a powerful spell, she boldly declares that she's already captured this cute little magic beast. Her potent attack swiftly strikes the unsuspecting creatures. The announcer then explains that when a beast finally submits, a vibrant, colorful smoke will spectacularly emit from its body. This ingenious system allows professors stationed outside the barrier to meticulously track each student's real-time progress and assign grades. A diligent professor carefully observes the tournament's swift progress. A teacher proudly announces that the mission at Site 5 is officially complete. She calls for the next wave of competitors to immediately prepare. Another instructor lavishes praise upon the girl for finishing her challenge in an astonishing 3 minutes. She politely thanks him, then inquires about the location. of the martial arts department's intense competition. She's eager to watch her brother in action. The man informs her it will be held at Site 10, the very last one on the schedule. She, undeterred, decides to grab a quick snack, while she patiently waits. The determined girl then confidently walks off down the bustling hallway. Iowa Miranda intently watches her go, wondering if Ryan will achieve the same spectacular results he showcased during the grand entrance ceremony. 2 grueling hours later, a student frets, worrying about only earning a single, meager point. His classmate quickly reassures him, explaining that, aside from the exceptional elite class, all the mages so far have only managed a measly single point. Kai nervously wonders if they'll even be able to remain in the martial arts department, but Lucas simply tells him not to worry. In terms of sheer raw power, he asserts, we aren't any weaker than those mage classes. Shigeru clasps his hands, nodding in full agreement. He tells the students not to sell themselves short, urging them to believe. Nobody was hurt, all thanks to those low-level magic beasts. Apparently, they can't even scratch a human, as the professor proudly asserts. He claims they are stronger than low-level mages when it comes to close combat. He passionately urges them to have far more confidence. The students can't help but comment on how truly odd it is that Mr. Shigar is actually encouraging them for once. Suddenly, Tishi walks up. She confirms her prior check, reporting back with vital info. And yes, no one was injured. Tishi then explains that most students are simply exhausted from completely draining their mana. But wait, she also reveals an incredibly important piece of information she discovered. Here's the scoop. She reveals they're cleverly using barriers to restrict beast movements. This brilliant tactic stops students from getting completely surrounded. Her advice? If a student simply can't win, they should just run away, find a weaker beast instead, and snag that good score. The students passionately thank her for the intel. Shigar then reflects that choosing Tishi as their representative was absolutely the right move. Meanwhile, another professor remarks that he heard of vile students spying on their class. He turns to Shigar, a sneer on his face. He spits out that when you lack talent, the only option left is relying on cowardly tricks, just to survive. Shigar, eyes narrowing, asks what he wants. Greg replies that he came specifically to warn them. The martial arts department is up next, a grim announcement. He adds that the students had better try their absolute hardest, or the entire department might actually get shut down. The professor just remains shockingly silent. Greg asserts it wouldn't be a problem if the department simply disappeared altogether. It never should have been created in the first place, he insists with venom. The man turns and walks away, a chilling laugh echoing behind him. Lucas watches him go, his gaze hardening. He remembers how that guy is exactly like the bullies from his cruel past life. Lucas stands up, asking if he's going first, since he ranked first in the intense entrance ceremony. Shigeru confirms this, yet he offers Lucas the option to let someone else go if he's feeling nervous. Lucas fiercely refuses the offer, stating he's going first, just as he brilliantly planned all along. Lucas asserts that he will absolutely get a magnificent score to show up everyone who despises the martial arts department. His classmates cheer him on, shouting with renewed vigor that they'll show everyone what they're made of and put on an unforgettable show. Professor Shigar notices their incredible attitude shift, noting they were all trembling just a second ago. A student reminds them not to forget what Tishi said. Lucas replies that he doesn't think using honorifics is right in this situation. 10 minutes later, at Site 10, Lucas finds himself in a dark and incredibly foggy arena. He clenches his fist, ready for explosive action. Perception magic circles dramatically form in the sky. He instantly realizes he needs to avoid them. He runs along the barrier, quick as a flash, so no one will know what truly happens inside. A quick explanation reveals that when a magic beast recognizes a master, their souls connect. This allows for communication and temporary use of their incredible abilities. Meanwhile, a magnificent white wolf intently gnaws on a bone. He lifts his head, a burning question in his eyes for his master. Why would he even need his power, when the master is already stronger? Meanwhile, back in the arena, suddenly, a spectral wolf's paw erupts and attacks. With the fierce wolf spirit at his side, Lucas coolly states that subjugating low-level magic beasts is a breeze. But then a massive owl flies straight for him. He quickly identifies it as a high-level magic beast and immediately orders a retreat. The owl relentlessly advances, attacking with razor-sharp talons. Then, the creature flies off into the vast, circular arena. But Lucas intercepts it mid-air with a devastating spectral wolf's paw. He strikes it down, stating that to make taming easier for the other students, it's best to utterly shatter their will to fight first. The beast crashes hard to the ground. He calmly approaches, remarking that Lil's power is incredibly useful. The very presence of a high-level beast like this should be more than enough to completely intimidate the lower-level ones. Its eyes spin wildly, and the creature falls into a deep trance. Lucas smugly thanks it for submitting so easily. He declares he can't let the potion smoke leak out until he's tamed times every single beast times in the entire area. The owl remains on the ground, utterly subjugated. He announces he's off to hunt down even more beasts. He bids it a casual goodbye and promptly leaves. The owl, utterly defeated, vows it never wants to see him again. Meanwhile, outside the arena, the scoreboard shockingly displays Lucas Ryan still having 0 points. Kai despairs, realizing half the allotted time has already vanished. Julia insists that since she times scored perfectly, she knows her brother can achieve it too. Holt Ryan silently watches the students from afar. Greg snidely comments that having 0 points means he can't even conquer the lowest level magic beast. He smugly adds, "That's the clear difference between a true martial artist and a mere mage." Shigart remains ominously silent, eyes fixed on Greg. Julia fiercely yells at them not to dare mock her brother. She asserts he's absolutely amazing, even without using magic. Holt Ryan grumbles that defending a martial artist like that makes her just as blindly misguided as Professor Linda. Greg dismissively tells her to say whatever she wants, but the results speak for themselves. Suddenly, a notification blares, announcing that Lucas Ryan has officially acquired 1 point. Kai and Tishy erupt in cheers, celebrating. At least he'll get to stay in the martial arts department now. A professor approaches, questioning why they're so ecstatic over a single point when his class's highest score is 5. But then, the points keep relentlessly ticking up to 2, 3, and 4. The score then instantly hits 5, leaving Greg utterly stunned. He can't believe the useless martial arts department just matched his best students' score. Back in the arena, Lucas casually steps on a giant serpent. He notes that with all the beasts thoroughly intimidated, his classmates can now rack up points with ease. He decides he just needs to grab his perfect score and get out of there. Then, a fierce, lion-like beast suddenly appears before him. Lucas swiftly defeats a rapid series of formidable magic beasts, reaching his incredible 9th victory. The little owl, to its shock, realizes he actually came back. He strikes it mid-air, instantly hitting the 10-point mark. Greg remains utterly silent, beads of sweat forming. A notification announces that Lucas Ryan has achieved a times-perfect score, times of 10 points. Julia erupts in joyous celebration, exclaiming that that's her big brother. Lucas walks out of the arena. A voice over the loudspeaker questions if the martial arts department really just scored a perfect 10. He pats Julia on the head. She beams, saying she knew her big brother could do it. Greg starts shouting. He insists it's impossible for a martial arts freshman to tame 10 magic beasts. He spins toward Lucas, accusing him of using a ringer. Lucas just stands there unmoved, while Julia shrinks behind him. Sigurd steps in, grabbing Greg's hand. He states firmly that the boy did nothing wrong. Proctor walks up. He asks if Greg is implying that he accepted a bribe to allow cheating. Greg realizes he forgot about the proctors. Antagonizing them would be a huge problem. He backs down, explaining he just found it suspicious that the student got a perfect score when the training dummy broke earlier. The proctor decides to investigate the barrier space anyway. Kai complains that they're making a mockery of the judging. Lucas calms him down, telling him to just let them do whatever they want. The young man asserts he has nothing to hide. 10 minutes later, inside the barrier, a massive beast opens its eye. The barrier lowers. The beasts realize they can see outside, and that the strong human is gone. Deciding to escape, they fly straight out of the arena. Suddenly chains snare the owl. A proctor notes the beasts seem very agitated, but they aren't weakened enough to need relocation. He asks his colleague if he genuinely believes the student earned a perfect score legitimately. The other proctor replies that he found nothing, but something must have happened to the magic beasts. He agrees to send the 10 beasts for a detailed inspection and resume the tournament. An announcement goes out. No issues were found during the inspection. The next competitors need to prepare. Lucas notes that even though they found nothing, they still don't believe in his abilities, but he adds to himself the real surprise is just beginning. Tishy chats with Professor Shigar, then she runs into the arena, determined. Tishy declares she can't lose to Lucas either. A wolf charges her. Inside the ring, she attacks the beast with a flurry of strikes. If she can't make it submit in 30 seconds, she decides she'll switch tactics and head for the gate. Tichy kicks the wolf away the beast, recognizes her aura as similar to that monster's, and wonders if he is still nearby. Tichy clenches her fist with determination. She strikes the wolf again. It cowers on the ground before her. The girl wonders how a level 3 black wolf submitted so easily. She looks at her hand, questioning if it was just a coincidence. Tichy smiles, considering that maybe the martial arts department isn't so weak after all. Next, she springs forward, directly at another creature. Her score starts climbing rapidly as she defeats beast after beast. Meanwhile, outside, Kai shouts encouragement, while Professor Shigart looks on, observing intently. She keeps fighting, racking up even more points. Then, the young woman confronts a massive, saber-toothed tiger. With a single, decisive blow, she defeats her final opponent. A triumphant notification announces that Tichy Himeru has achieved a perfect score of 10. Kai celebrates, surprised she was faster than Lucas, and wonders what exactly is going on. Leaving the arena, she reflects that the beasts weren't all that scary. Being a martial artist doesn't make them weaker than mages. In the third match, a student launches an attack on a bat-like creature. The creature is slammed mercilessly into the ground. Collins secures a perfect 10, defeating his opponent with a swift dagger strike. Next, in the fourth match, Sharp delivers a powerful kick to a large, ape-like beast. He also achieves a perfect 10. In the fifth match, Kai Taroi lands a devastating punch on a saber-toothed tiger. The beast hits the floor, completely defeated. Kai celebrates his perfect 10 score against the animal. The scoreboard shows that Julia, Iowa, Lucas, and Tichy also reached the maximum score. As the tournament progressed, the martial arts students continued racking up perfect scores, rising straight to the top of every event. Professor Shigart smiles discreetly at the incredible results. He takes a sip from his flask. A proctor announces that the detailed inspection found no issues with the magic beasts or the barrier space. An older man praises their exceptional martial arts skills, but questions why the division's scores are so exceptionally high. One proctor suggests the beasts were already scared by attacks from the mage class students, but his colleague counters that this has never happened before. The older man explains that since it's the martial arts division's first tournament, the students fighting up close must have frightened the beasts even more. He decides that the martial arts division will go first next year, but current scores will stand. Greg protests, shouting that this means the martial arts division will tie for first place with the elite division. Professor Shigart watches him from afar. The director asks if he has a problem with that. Greg retreats, arguing about the fairness of the result, but the older man simply states that luck is part of a person's skill. Another director agrees that it's not the student's fault, and the scores cannot be discarded. Then, Director Otani orders Greg to announce the results. Greg watches. Shigart and Linda walk away. He grumbles at Shigart, hoping he's paying attention. The two directors continue their conversation near the beast cage. One states, this is a critical issue for the division's existence, and asks the other if he knows what's truly happening. Director Otani replies that he cannot share the details, but he promises it's nothing bad for the school. He's absolutely sticking to the plan, no matter what, and acting like the boy's abilities aren't real at all. It's all unfolding exactly as he wants. Kai practically explodes with joy, celebrating his perfect score. He's got to tell his dad the good news immediately. As they stroll down the hallway, his classmates are buzzing, commenting that taming those beasts wasn't that hard. They must have gotten so much stronger. Lucas quickly attributes their massive success to Professor Shigar's special training. A door closes behind them. Now seated, Kai asks his friends what they'll do with those 20 bonus points they snagged for claiming first place. Collins instantly replies he'll save his points. He needs to be ready for emergencies. His friend retorts that the most obvious answer is to buy high-quality materials for next month's intense combat training. Lucas, holding his drink, asks about this combat training. Kai excitedly mentions the Allen Tower, the exclusive proving ground of the Allen Magic Academy. He explains that inside its walls, there's an illusory world teeming with beasts, where you can gain vital combat experience without any real danger. Collins worries because only 100 freshmen can enter. He wonders if they'll get one of the 88 remaining spots, since the elite division has 12 guaranteed. But Kai quickly reassures him. Since they all got perfect scores, their entry is absolutely guaranteed, because selection is based on tournament rankings. Suddenly, a chair scrapes back. Kai asks where they're going. Collins replies, He's heading to the material shop to buy training equipment. Lucas watches his two friends dash down the hallway. Lucas sips his drink, affirming to himself that making sure everyone got a perfect score in the tournament was the absolute right decision. Kai approaches Lucas and suggests they visit the material shop too, but Lucas politely declines the offer. Suddenly, a pendant swings right in front of Kai. Lucas grabs it, saying he wants a better look at that pendant Professor Shigar gave him earlier. Lucas holds up the Fang pendant. Kai identifies it as the coveted prize. For the top 3 perfect scorers, he complains. Since he was only 1 rank lower, the prize should have gone to Tichy instead. Lucas replies that his only talent is pure luck. Kai sighs in resignation. He decides to meet the others at the shop, and Lucas waves goodbye. Results flash on an outdoor screen for a huge crowd. The scoreboard proudly congratulates the martial arts department. All members achieved perfect scores. A female student stomps the ground hard. It's Lila Gregg, a student. She claims they needed top scores for the 3rd straight year to become the elite class. She asks if anyone has any idea how hard her father worked over the last decade to achieve that. She hurls an object at the scoreboard. A classmate adds that they also stole 20 spots in the Allen Tower. Another student furiously agrees, insisting those spots rightfully belong to the mages. A student mentions the magical beast base. Professors said the martial arts students didn't cheat. Then, one of the mage students. He hurls his own object at the board, passionately declaring he overheard the martial arts department secretly bribed the teachers. Another student readily agrees, asserting it's entirely plausible, especially for the son of the mighty Toro family. A mere bribe would be absolutely nothing to them. Then, Andre, another of Greg's formidable students, dramatically reveals he just spotted the Toro heir. He says the guy bought the last coveted piece of training equipment from the campus supply store. A student nervously worries that once the martial arts department snatches their bonus points, they'll completely monopolize all the truly valuable materials. Lila grips her staff with fierce determination, reminding them that a martial artist's weak points are surprisingly easy to hit. She coolly suggests it might just be time to deal with their little growth. Spurt. Suddenly, an object is violently hurled through the trees. It strikes the ground right in front of Collins and Sharp. They furiously demand to know why they are being confronted. Collins suddenly collapses to the ground, struck. Sharp instantly realizes the insidious attack contained a noxious substance. He desperately needs to recover quickly. He turns to his shadowy opponents, attempting to offer points in exchange for immediate help. But Lila fiercely confronts them, her staff held high. Both boys are brutally struck down, crashing hard to the ground. She coldly tells them to shut up, stating with chilling clarity that she doesn't need their paltry points. Lying helpless on the ground, Collins weakly asks the reason for this unprovoked attack. Lila menacingly approaches Collins. She claims her demand is simple, holding up a sinister vial. She harshly orders him back to the martial arts department, then pops open the potion. She viciously tells him to tell his entire class that they are nothing but inferior. The sun, finally, sets on the horizon, leaving shadows in its wake. A few hours later, Lucas and Kai frantically search the forest for their missing friends, desperately calling out their names. Kai playfully questions Lucas's intense worry, reminding him they're always late returning from their various part-time jobs. Lucas simply replies, his voice grim, that today is unsettlingly different. He suddenly stops dead in front of a desolate road, stating he feels something is gravely, terribly wrong here. The oppressive sense of danger suddenly intensifies. He abruptly bolts through the dense forest, leaving Kai completely behind. Kai frantically follows, shouting, "Why did you run off all of a sudden?" Then, an injured hand, lying on the ground, weakly reaches out toward them. They finally find Collins and Sharp lying crumpled on the ground, barely conscious. Kai, horrified, quickly approaches their fallen friends and urgently asks, "Who did this?" Lucas quickly kneels down, carefully cradling one of them in his arms. Sharp, barely able to speak, reveals it was Greg's class. He weakly whispers Lila's name, adding, "They were hit internally." Lucas's face becomes completely shadowed. Kai, alarmed, yells his friend's name. He frantically checks Sharp's condition, but Lucas gently reassures him, saying he's still alive, just utterly unconscious. Lucas swiftly provides critical first aid to Collins, then urgently asks Kai to quickly go get some potent potions. The boy immediately runs through the dense forest, holding his other friend's injured arms. Lucas chillingly realizes they were targeted by a dangerously insidious technique. They've suffered severe internal damage. He identifies the precise, forbidden method used and clenches his fist. Lucas grimly declares, "This isn't just a prank. It's a heinous, serious attack." On the ground, Collins faintly calls for his parents, crying out in sheer pain. Lucas looks at his gravely injured friend, his expression hardening. He comforts him, promising with unwavering resolve that he times will times seek justice. Tichy and Kai burst onto the scene, screaming Lucas's name. Tichy urgently asks if their friends were attacked. Kai explains he found her on his way back. Lucas reassures them. Their lives aren't in danger, but they'll need a few days to recover. Kai thanks Lucas for his help, handing him a bag, and vows to never forgive those responsible. Tichy announces her plan. She'll go to the student council tomorrow. Kai questions if they'll even listen, especially since the teachers are already ignoring the case. Lucas asserts, "It doesn't matter." Tichy notices the intense expression on his face. She realizes he seems like a completely different person, not the calm, gentle Lucas she once knew. He declares that he will absolutely solve this. Shortly after, they arrive at the student council room. Theodore Pommel calmly listens to their report. He asks, "Do you want to have a duel? With the students from Professor Greg's class?" Lucas confirms. He demands an apology from their opponents if they win, and offers up his S-rank bonus if they lose. Theodore questions the lack of proof. He asks if the S-rank bonus refers to the pendant he's holding. The pendant swings in his hand. Lucas and Kai watch the object intently. He lets the pendant drop to the floor and apologizes, claiming his hand slipped. Theodore suggests that betting, something so cheap, seems a bit dull for such an important duel. Kai remains silent, but his anger shows as Lucas holds him back. Lucas asks what would be considered an appropriate bet. Theodore leans back in his chair, considering the proposal. He comments that it should be something exclusive to this school. Then, an idea strikes him. Theodore leans forward. He suggests they bet their entrance qualifications for the Allen Tower. The proposal is that the losing side permanently forfeits the right to enter the tower. Lucas accepts the terms of the challenge. The duel is set for 2 days later. The dissatisfied freshmen cheer for Greg's class. Their professor publicly praised the 3 students who confronted Aldo's group. Shigar, on the other hand, said nothing. He just intensified his students' combat training. On the scheduled day, a large crowd gathers in the arena to watch. The 2 groups take their positions. The crowd shouts that those 3 are fighting for the martial arts. Lila says, "If you give up now, I might consider it." Lucas replies, "We'll only know the result when the duel is over." A voice announces, "Both sides, prepare for the duel." Kai says, "It's time to end this quickly." Andre adjusts his glasses, holds his staff, and prepares for the clash. Then, the duel begins. Kai advances while Andre casts his spell. He moves rapidly, expertly dodging the projectiles coming his way. Andre can't believe his opponent dodged every single attack. Kai asks, "Is that all you've got to show?" Kai continues dodging the incoming projectiles. Grinning, he asks, "Is that all his opponent has?" Andre simply adjusts his glasses. He claims. Kai hasn't even realized he's fallen into a trap. Suddenly, Kai notices something crucial. His feet are freezing to the ground. The ice surges up his legs, locking him in place. Andre warns him there's no way out now. He practically bids his opponent farewell. Kai Taroi grips his dagger's hilt, a final defiant stand. Andre slams his staff down, hard, against the arena floor. The impact thunders through the colossal ice structure. He demands, "Do you understand now?" Before declaring, "This is what happens when you provoke a mage." Kai, struggling, manages, "You're gonna." Andre cuts in, "Speak up if you want to surrender." In the stands, Lila sneers. "A loser is always a loser." She offers, "I'll let you live if you admit defeat right now." Irritated, Lucas Ryan asks, "How long do you intend to keep talking?" But Kai, holding an object, suddenly asks if Andre's ice magic can freeze lava from the magical Beast Mountain range. Lila calls him an idiot. Lucas yells for him to run and get out of there. A massive explosion erupts at the center of the arena. Andre is hurled backward by the powerful shockwave. He realizes it was lava slime and questions Kai's intentions. Kai charges, plowing through the smoke toward his opponent. He lands a decisive blow straight to the chest, shattering a magic circle. Andre cries out in pain from the impact. In the audience, someone shouts, "A martial artist injured a mage?" Another spectator points out Kai's leg is severely injured from the explosion. Someone comments that Kai sacrificed his own mobility just to escape, and has a lot of guts. Grinning, Kai declares that the moment he broke the spell, his opponent left himself completely vulnerable. Andre wonders, how could I be injured by a mere martial artist? Then he shouts, with injured legs, Kai can't dodge, and tells him to give up. From the stands, Lucas Ryan hurls another object toward the arena. The flask explodes mid-air, creating a distraction. Kai continues charging through the smoke. He leaps toward Andre, who screams, "You lunatic!" Andre's hands begin to freeze. Kai complains that ice users are always sloppy with the finishing blow. Andre retreats, yelling for him to stay back. With a powerful headbutt, Kai shatters his opponent's ice shield. The blow connects directly with Andre's face. He is hurled backward by the sheer force of the impact. Down on the ground, Andre can't believe he lost to a martial artist. Kai Taro raises his dagger high and triumphantly announces that the first match goes to the martial arts department. He asks Lucas Ryan, "Did you see how amazing that was?" But Lucas reveals he put a strengthening potion in his breakfast. Kai then asks if Tishy will be okay in the next fight against that girl. As Tishy enters the arena, Lucas affirms she'll be fine. A spectator comments that Andre must have gone easy on him because he's from the Taro family. Tishy then questions why they can't just accept that they won fairly. Suddenly, she dodges a high-speed attack. Several projectiles hit the wall behind her, releasing a dark, ominous substance. Lila taunts her about the surprise attack and the moral principles of martial artists. She asserts that for mages, results are what truly matter. Tishy charges directly through the tentacles and launches a fierce attack on her opponent. She delivers a precise, straight punch right to Lila's face. The mage marvels, bewildered by Tishy's incredible speed. Even at level 1, Lila's eyes widen in shock. Tishy swiftly snatches her arm and declares she's about to teach her a lesson. She articulates that among her core moral principles is the unwavering belief that all life must be valued. Lila screams as the chilling realization of plant magic dawns on her. Tishy then unleashes a powerful strike. Her opponent's monopaths are targeted with flawless precision. Lucas Ryan clenches his fist, burning with fierce determination. He declares, "The outcome of this fight is already decided." Praising Tishy's keen perception, Tishy delivers a sharp warning. Her opponent, now squarely in her sights, never to trample on a martial artist's pride so quickly. As she coolly walks away from Lila, the second match is unequivocally declared a victory for the martial arts department. Meanwhile, needles fall from the defeated mage's hand. Elsewhere, in an observation room, a young man sharply questions Mina about permitting the use of poison needles. Theodore Palmel calmly dismisses him, saying not to be dramatic, given that nothing truly bad occurred. In the bustling stands, Greg erupts in celebration, proclaiming Shigart knew exactly what he was doing when he named Tishy as their representative. One of the elite students grumbles in frustration that rather than seeing them humiliated, the plan was to utterly crush the martial arts department's spirit. Lucas, however, believes there's still a chance. If he can unleash that times technique one more time, he boldly strides into the arena for the next confrontation. Across from him, his opponent equally prepares for battle. A shimmering barrier rises, encircling the arena, and with a surge of energy, the third match begins. A swift attack streaks along the ground, hurtling toward Lucas. He calmly watches as the ominous strike approaches. The opponent surges forward at blinding speed, leaving a dizzying trail of afterimages behind. He then explains that even some mages master hand-to-hand combat, and warns that his clones will leave Lucas utterly defenseless. Tishy wonders aloud what Lucas's strategy could possibly be, since he's merely keeping his distance and defending. Lucas determines he doesn't need to reveal his true strength just yet. He stomps forcefully on the ground. He advances, intent on at least testing the enemy with a punch. The mage gaps in disbelief at what he's witnessing. Lucas slams him with a single, powerful blow. The opponent questions the sheer, raw strength of that punch. He swiftly counterattacks with his gleaming blade, asking himself if he was just imagining things. He suddenly notices the aura Lucas released for a second. The mage then defiantly declares, it's Lucas's bad luck. Lucas observes the final attack approach. The blade deeply strikes into his shoulder. He stares at the wound in silence as the mage launches another attack, claiming no one can possibly resist his unique combat art. He promises to defeat Lucas completely and decisively. The opponent surges forward, aiming a powerful blow, but he suddenly realizes his technique isn't working and warns that Lucas still won't leave here unscathed. In the stands, Kai shouts out urgently that Lucas is in deep trouble, then frantically asks, what was done to him? The mage, meanwhile, cruelly mocks, saying the move Lucas was hiding was nothing but a bluff. Lucas then powerfully grabs the blade, and his astonished opponent shouts, "This is the end." Lucas holds the weapon tightly, stating that this times alone should already be enough. Lucas declares it's his turn, punctuating it with a single, powerful stomp. A mighty shockwave erupts, visibly cracking the arena floor beneath Lucas. The astonished mage can't believe a mere level 1 martial artist could generate such a devastating wave with just a single leg. Lucas grips the blade firmly and utters with a steely gaze, "Now, they won't have to worry about prying eyes anymore. So, are you truly ready for this?" He challenges. His opponent screams in terror, "That's a magic sword." With overwhelming force, Lucas then hurls him crashing to the ground. The powerful magic sword slams directly into his hand during the fall. The mage shrieks in agony, instantly conceding his overwhelming defeat. From the stands, Lucas remains unmoving, a silent presence for a moment. Greg immediately questions, why is he giving up so easily when victory was within reach? Shigeru observes that Greg, clearly, can't even perceive the true extent of his own student's injuries. He then grimly states, this situation could still spiral into a major problem. The ecstatic students from the martial arts department erupt in cheers, celebrating their sweeping victory in all matches. They buzz with excitement over the very real possibility of finally being able to defeat mages in duels. Suddenly, Tishi screams, "Lucas, watch out!" as the defeated opponent suddenly lunges, aiming to attack him. From her room, Iowa watches the chaotic scene unfold, simply unable to believe her eyes. Julia asks, "What's wrong?" Iowa Miranda gravely explains, "That move. It looked exactly like the advanced technique. Meridian burn," she states with awe. She continues, "There hasn't been a martial artist capable of wielding that technique in the Empire for the last 100 years. While Kai and Toro celebrate wildly with Lucas, Ryan Iowa wonders, just who times he, really? One exhilarated student yells, "The three of you were absolutely amazing. Mages are nothing but cowards." Tishi then boldly declares, "From now on, I'll challenge any mage who dares to look down on us to a duel," but then she quickly corrects herself, adding, I just performed little times better than usual today." Suddenly, Shigar appears, sternly calling them arrogant fools for getting so easily carried away. She promises, "I will get stronger and make you regret this." Lucas agrees that the professor is indeed right about the crucial need for confidence without arrogance. A woman then approaches Shigeru and comments, "You're actually starting to sound like a real teacher now." He replies gruffly, "I just don't want my students ending up like me asterisk." He then asks, "What do you want?" Jessica Ryan, leaning casually against a tree, holds a letter. It describes the utterly ruptured magic paths of the injured mage. In the medical room, Andre lies still in his bed, as a disturbing dark substance emanates ominously from his body. A grand carriage arrives at a massive building under the cloak of night. Someone slams a furious hand onto a table, angrily questioning how a mere freshman duel could possibly have devolved into this complete debacle. Headmaster Otani laments bitterly that his son's magical meridians were irreparably damaged, and he will never be able to use magic again. Greg demands severe punishment for those responsible, and the complete dissolution of the entire martial arts department. Shigar then strides into the room, agreeing that the culprit absolutely deserves severe punishment. He then chillingly reveals that the very same magic used by the trio during the duel eerily matches the magic used on Sharp and Collins. He declares them the undeniably guilty parties. Shigar then asks the director to punish Greg and his associates severely, strictly according to school regulations. Greg stares in shock, realizing they were actually planning to defeat his students all along. Amidst the duel, he demands why Shigar is bringing this up now. He grabs Shigar, warning him not to change the subject, as they fiercely debate who is truly responsible for the forbidden technique. Shigar then declares it hasn't been confirmed as times technique yet, adding a novice couldn't wield it anyway. Greg agrees that the Ryan family boy couldn't possibly control an ancient, forbidden technique. Shigar then sharply points out that an advanced martial artist could wield forbidden arts. Greg suddenly remembers the only advanced martial artist at the duel was Professor Shigar. He spins to face Shigar and demands if he could be the real culprit. Shigar scoffs, retorting that if he could use forbidden techniques, he would have unleashed them on times long ago. Headmaster Otani then questions how they explain his son's inexplicable condition. If it times wasn't times a forbidden technique, Shigar coolly suggests perhaps it's karma, adding he asked Lucas about it later. He recounts that Lucas insisted times he couldn't, wield forbidden arts, and shared his own chilling theory. In it, the mage paid huge sums to master dangerous techniques from truly questionable individuals. Lucas suggests that perhaps, worried about information leaking, a formidable force from the underworld took advantage of the duel to make their move. The director deeply ponders this unsettling possibility. Greg, however, gets visibly irritated, asking if they truly think they can dismiss this grave matter with ridiculous rumors. His ally agrees, stating this is merely speculation, but Shigar powerfully argues that the theory is far more credible than a beginner wielding an ancient, forbidden technique. He warns that if they provoke this person's resentment, things will become terrifyingly serious. The Meridian Destroyer technique can instantly neutralize even the most talented mage. Later, Headmaster Otani walks alone through a vast, silent library. There, he finds the exact book he was looking for. Opening it, he realizes the dust has been freshly wiped clean, proof that someone had handled it very recently. Within the book, Headmaster Otani meticulously analyzes the intricate hand shape of a specific technique. He confirms it was exactly times as he thought. Alone, he remains in the immense library. The scene then dramatically changes to the hot springs, deep in the Magic Beast mountain range. Lucas holds a potent potion, announcing, the final treatment for Sharp and Collins is about to begin. Inside the churning water, the two sit back to back. Suddenly, the water around them begins to churn with intense power. Sharp reacts physically, convulsing in response to the intense treatment. Collins also reacts with raw intensity to the process. Lucas urges them to hang on just a little longer. He asserts that martial artists can utilize healing techniques just like mages. Several days later, a grand carriage arrives in the bustling city of Dak, that they'll see the children soon. It's been quite a while. She notes that nothing seems to have changed since long ago. Holt calls her name, noticing her thoughtful expression, but Catherine smiles gently and tells him not to worry. She just remembered something from the past. Suddenly, she sharply spots someone in the distance. A man approaches, a noble horse by his side. Catherine greets him warmly as Sayan, her own younger brother. He greets her back, and a vivid memory from 10 years ago begins to surface. This was when the Beastmen tribes launched a massive, brutal attack. These savage creatures advanced relentlessly, but the people united, ready to resist. And after 3 grueling days and nights of relentless fighting, both sides suffered devastating, heavy damage in that brutal war. In the thick of it all, a young mage valiantly fought against the beasts. It was there, amidst the conflict, that young Knight Commander Holt Ryan and the brilliant mage Catherine Miranda crossed paths for the first time. Holt fearlessly faced down his enemies on the brutal battlefield. Catherine, captivated, watched him intently throughout the combat. Having faced peril and danger together, the two promised each other to spend their lives together as one. But her father, with furious resolve, fiercely opposed the marriage. So Catherine, in a bold move, cut all ties with the Miranda family. Sayan then reflects, reminiscing on how their children met first at the renowned Allen Magic School. He comments, how time flies. He then adds he's heard her children are simply excellent, truly gifted, and that their father even commented Julia takes after her, leaving Catherine visibly surprised and a little touched. He then extends a heartfelt invitation for her to finally come back home, saying their father, despite everything, has always longed to see her. But Sayan then clarifies with a somber tone that the invitation is for her alone. She understands, with a heavy heart, this means Holt is not included. Holt, ever the noble one, tells her to go ahead. He needs to head to the front lines anyway. His duty awaits. Catherine is visibly and deeply shaken by the difficult situation, but he, with a comforting smile, reassures her, saying he's truly happy they're finally letting her return home, and that he will pick her up as soon as the campaign ends. Holt then bids her farewell and bravely departs for his critical mission. Sayan then reveals, with a heavy heart, that Holt had, in secret, asked for his help with reconciliation, but their stubborn father still hasn't forgiven a noble mage for daring to marry a martial artist. He wishes that someday, someone truly special will appear, to dispel society's prejudice against martial artists forever. Elsewhere, a sudden, mighty sneeze escapes Lucas Ryan. Lucas wonders if he's caught a cold, despite training so hard. Meanwhile, Julia Riley comments that it's quite rare for Kai to ever buy food for others. Kai, grumbling, tells them to just leave him alone, grumbling that he'll make the others pay the bill in full when they're totally healed. Lucas simply replies, with a shrug, that he thinks that's fair. Nearby, some students call him the king of luck, spreading rumors that he only won because a third party secretly attacked his opponent. Andre, annoyed, questions, whose baseless gossip is that, anyway? Kai announces he will deliver lunch to the dorm and asks Lucas to go ahead with Julia to the bustling cafeteria. The young girl happily devours her sweet dessert. Lucas, observant, asks her if her exquisite hairpin is new, and Julia, beaming, confirms it was a special gift from Iowa, of the influential Miranda family. Lucas concludes that because she is a genius mage, it's no surprise they'd want to get close and become family with her. Then Lucas earnestly asks his sister to get along with Iowa, for their mother's sake. Julia then gets excitedly, saying she absolutely needs to write a letter to Mom about becoming the new class representative. Suddenly, Mina approaches their table and warmly congratulates the young girl on her achievement. She then states that Julia will certainly, without a doubt, become a pillar of the school in the coming future, and that she will always be there too. Just as she needs support, a group of students breezes past them, accidentally bumping right into Mina's shoulder. She simply watches them fade into the distance, utterly silent. Flashing back a bit earlier, Jessica Ryan is explaining to Iowa Miranda that while Iowa possesses skills comparable to Julia's when it comes to mental magic, Julia still outshines her in every other aspect. Therefore, she believes Julia is simply more suitable to be the class representative. She then asks Iowa for her understanding. Iowa clenches her fist tightly, declaring that she will prove with her raw ability that the teacher is clearly just favoring Julia. Back in the present moment, Julia watches Iowa exit the cafeteria, commenting that her roommate left without eating, so Julia resolves to buy lunch and take it to her herself. Mina then approaches, asking if she and Iowa are close. Julia replies with an enthusiastic yes, and praises Iowa's incredible mental magic. Lucas readily agrees, admitting it's truly a rare talent. Mina then starts to say but, and deftly activates a magic circle that glows brightly around their table. Lucas immediately identifies the spell as a silence magic circle, designed specifically to prevent any sound from leaking out. With a sly finger to her lips, Mina comments that very intelligent people are just so hard to deal with. She then offers them some of her food, mentioning her wind magic is also quite interesting. Lucas takes a piece from her plate, cutting straight to the chase and asking what the real reason for her visit truly is. Mina adjusts her glasses coolly, musing that the interference of Julia's brother won't pose a problem. She praises Lucas's perception and decides to be direct. She then asks if they are familiar with the magical Beast Mountain range, where a troubling ecological anomaly has been detected. Mina gravely explains that low-level magical beasts have drastically decreased, and even the magic-crested leopard cubs have entirely vanished. A quick memory flashes, showing how common these creatures used to be throughout the region. She then reveals that just 3 days ago, the Empire's investigation team discovered a high-level magical beast's lair. Julia immediately gasps, asking if it isn't Uru's lair. Lucas remains silently, intently absorbing the grave information. He then questions if she expects them to perform a field mission and what the actual difficulty level is. Mina raises a single finger and informs them the difficulty is a shocking 100 points. Both Lucas and Julia are utterly stunned by the mission's incredibly high level. Lucas, however, believes that even with such a high difficulty, he and Julia can still handle the task with ease. The scene dramatically shifts to the Grand Miranda family estate. There, Duke Soa Miranda, the esteemed head of the family, is enjoying a quiet meal. Other family members are seated at the lengthy dining table. Cyan keenly observes that his stubborn father has made his sister stay in the guest room, despite her old room already being spotless. He then notes that the entire environment feels like a funeral, as his sister hasn't even touched her food. Soa Miranda then firmly calls Catherine by name, tapping his fork on the table, and he declares that he is willing to formally recognize her as his granddaughter, since Julia possesses the exceptional qualities to become a sacred archmage. Catherine quietly thanks him, but when she proudly mentions that Lucas is also an exceptional martial artist, her father dismissively states it's meaningless. He firmly reinforces that the Miranda family seeks only those with the innate talent to become sacred archmages, as she sadly realizes that her father's deep-seated prejudice won't easily change. An assistant enters the room, asking to be excused. He then swiftly delivers a letter, informing them that the investigation team just sent urgent new information from the perilous magical beast mountain range. Catherine questions the sudden, pressing reason for this investigation in the treacherous mountain range. Soa quickly reads the report, which details a dangerous new area discovered beneath the lair with an unknown, critical danger level. Sion worries that the innocent children at the Allen Magic School, located right next door, might be in peril. But the Duke emphatically states that as long as they stay at the school, safeguarded by teachers and their subordinates, there will be absolutely no danger. He then tells Catherine to patiently wait for the matter to fully resolve, before rushing off to see her children. She lowers her head and dutifully agrees with her father's decision. Suddenly, a new mission appears, requiring a group of 5 people, including a student council member. A nearby student instantly reacts to the shocking news. Mina questions the abrupt change, as just the day before there was no such limit, and the attendant explains that the president himself altered the rules because of a rampaging wyvern. She then understands that Theodore deliberately changed the conditions on purpose, doubting she could possibly gather the required group. Lucas observes the unfolding situation and ponders if the vice president is truly so lonely she can't recruit anyone. Remembering her earlier approach to Julia, Mina turns and apologizes, suggesting they'll simply have to give up on the mission. Then, Lucas confidently offers to handle the recruitment, and Julia excitedly states that they will definitely help. Thanking the two, Mina thinks she feels a pang of guilt for using them as her pawns. She remains silent for an instant. Suddenly, a booming voice calls out for the senior. Kaito Roy arrives, declaring he'll lend a hand. Since his best friend, Lucas, is going on an exciting field mission, Maya Rasta also presents herself, explaining she is a specialist in potent water-based healing magic and can be incredibly useful. Mina quickly withdraws her thanks, stating that those freshmen will simply be an unbearable burden. Julia asks why Lucas called Maya instead of Iowa, and he simply says Iowa wouldn't listen to a single word from him. The vice president decides it doesn't matter, as they are merely there to complete the number, and she and Julia will personally handle the mission. Mina announces that they will depart immediately, explaining that the arduous trip will take half a day, even with powerful acceleration magic. Several hours later, the group travels at breathtaking high speed through the dense forest. Upon finally arriving, she announces they've reached their destination. She immediately finds disturbing traces of battle and a distinctive Miranda family crest on the ground. Lucas asks if this location is currently being investigated by the Empire's official exploration team. He turns to Julia and comments that it's a huge relief they didn't find Uru's dwelling here. Suddenly, Lucas's gaze snaps upwards, instantly alerting everyone to an enemy attack descending from above as a monstrous winged creature advances. Mina, quick as a flash, unleashes a powerful storm spell. The raging enchantment strikes the creature dead on, no mercy given. The threat is instantly neutralized, plummeting to the ground with a thud. But then, another monstrous assailant suddenly lunges to attack Mina. She spins around, ready to confront this unexpected new threat. But Kai swiftly positions himself, a protective barrier, directly in front of her, powerfully blocking the incoming strike with his impenetrable magic shield. He then sternly warns them to leave the intense close combat entirely to times them asterisk. Kai steadfastly defends against the creature's relentless assault with his shining shield. Then, Lucas explosively leaps into the fray, facing down yet another monster, which immediately causes Kai to shout his name in exasperation. Lucas, ever the showman, playfully warns him not to steal his scene, and challenges him to simply try times and keep up with his blazing speed. Meanwhile, Maya calmly weaves a shimmering water spirit barrier, declaring with serene confidence that she'll handle all the support. More menacing winged creatures descend, rapidly surrounding the entire group. Mina surveys the escalating situation, commenting with a satisfied smile that it's been far too long since she felt such incredible team coordination. She then turns to Julia, explaining that this particular magical beast absolutely despises wind and lightning magic, making it a perfect target, clearly indicating that now it's her time to shine. Julia, staff held high, begins to chant a powerful enchantment, focusing all her energy for the impending spell. With a surge of power, she invokes barrier magic, and a massive dome forms, expertly trapping all the flying creatures inside. The now imprisoned monsters are relentlessly pummeled by the enchantment's raw power. Near where a creature had just been defeated, Lucas marvels, commenting that Julia's lightning magic, even now, still holds truly devastating, incredible power. Kai walks over and calls out to Mina, who remains unusually silent. Julia then turns to her senior, asking intently if she had perhaps said something. Mina quickly replies that it was nothing at all, a mere thought. But she admits she had severely underestimated the capabilities of those seemingly insignificant pawns. Maya gently heals Kai's injured hand. He immediately calls her a goddess, but she playfully brushes off the compliment, secretly thinking goddess is perhaps a slight exaggeration. Yet, she can't help but wish Lucas would say it. Lucas watches her, utterly confused as she subtly questions her own internal thoughts. Then, the group finally steps into an enormous, gaping cave. A glowing staff instantly illuminates the dark path ahead. Julia marvels aloud at the sheer, overwhelming size of the cavern. Mina points out an even vaster, deeper area stretching further within. Kai also notes that an entire small army could effortlessly march through here. Lucas deduces that this massive cave was, in fact, intentionally excavated. The underground must be absolutely crawling with dangerous magic beasts, making this path incredibly perilous. He sternly warns everyone to remain extremely vigilant. Suddenly, a horde of vicious goblins charges them. Julia swiftly casts a powerful spell at the creatures. The goblins are hit square on by the devastating attack. Mina explains that since their vision is notoriously poor, she cleverly neutralized their hearing with a sudden burst of thunder. The group is momentarily safe. Kai prepares to engage another monster, but Mina warns him they simply can't defeat every single beast that attacks them head-on. Kai grins, announcing with confidence that he has a brilliant plan. A little later, the group strategically gets into their positions. He bravely runs straight toward the monstrous horde, yelling for them to furiously chase him. Then, Julia and Mina both meticulously prepare their powerful spells. Kai glances back for a fleeting instant, and the two girls unleash their perfectly synchronized, combined attacks. The surging magic slams into the group of creatures, dead on. A massive, earth-shattering explosion erupts. Lucas's eyes wide. They're marveling at the plan's incredible efficiency. He's starting to wonder, is Kai also a reincarnated hero? This tactic feels just like an epic area of effect attack from a game. Kai boldly explains his brilliant idea. Lure all the enemies in. That way, Mina and Julia could unleash a devastating one-shot wipe. He then turns, eyes fixed on Lucas. He declares this technique is times possible, all thanks to Lucas's amazing equipment. But Lucas shoots back. He shouldn't assume everyone's just vying for attention. All because of Kai's wild suggestion. Though, the group steadily wiped out all the fearsome magic beasts. Maya, ever the healer, swiftly mends his wounds with her magic. Slowly but surely, they press on, deeper into the lair's heart. Lucas scans his teammates, a worried look in his eyes. Lucas urges them to halt, pleading for a much-needed rest. But Maya just smirks, commenting that Kai is clearly pretending he can't hear them as he runs back. He's yelling, "I've brought the enemies. The rest is totally up to you guys." But then he looks back, stunned. Everyone's gone. Where did everyone go? Lucas grimly states, even though it's his fault, we might just have to sacrifice our teammate. He's running out of magic power. Julia even wishes Kai happiness in the great beyond. Ouch. Maya declares she'll save him if he's still breathing. But Mina wisely advises her not to take it too seriously. Suddenly, a thunderous boom rips through the entire cave. Maya looks up, startled. Was that Kai? She gasps. Lucas replies, no, it definitely came from the lair's very center. That's where the exploration team likely found the boss monster. Mina suggests they should absolutely go check the situation. Lucas takes a tentative step forward and grimly remarks that the air here feels incredibly heavy, almost oppressive. Then, ever prepared, Mina offers Julia a powerful recovery potion, one she thoughtfully brought all the way from home. She reassures Julia they probably won't even need to intervene, but they should absolutely check, just in case. The group pushes forward, only to stumble upon a scene of brutal battle. Mina's eyes widen as she chillingly realizes the entire Times exploration team has been utterly defeated. She instantly orders an immediate retreat. Lucas whirls around, but a monstrous creature suddenly erupts from the rubble. It's directly in front of them, looming large. Mina spins sharply to the side, narrowly dodging, as the giant creature charges at her, axe raised high. As the creature lunges, Mina wonders, *A Minotaur? Why is a Minotaur, *, a Calamity-class monster? Here of all places? *. Lucas's mind races. Something is terribly, terribly wrong. A monster this powerful shouldn't even be times on a school mission. Still, that presence. It feels strangely familiar. He recognizes that presence, he shouts. Mina, watch out. As he shoves her clear of danger, the Minotaur's colossal axe comes crashing down with brutal force, but Lucas quickly conjures a powerful magic protection. The creature's blow is suddenly blocked by a shimmering wall of ice. Julia rushes to aid Mina, while Lucas, astonished, asks if She was the one who conjured that incredible ice shield. He turns, bewildered, after her negative reply. Mina then points out, it was actually the mysterious person held captive in the Minotaur's hand. The man, still clutched in its grip, retaliates against the beast, demanding if Times is truly the one standing in his way. The group watches, absolutely stunned, shocked that this wounded man saved them, even in his dire state. The man then urgently commands them to call the Imperial Army. He grimly reveals, the ancient seal. It has been broken. The monstrous creature tightens its crushing grip around him. The Minotaur roars, threatening to annihilate everyone present. Julia and Maya recoil, horrified by the brutal scene unfolding. A lone potion bottle slips from the man's weakening grasp, clattering to the ground. Julia whips around, drawn by the roaring Minotaur, as it closes in on the fallen man, but he quickly chugs a potion, declaring the monstrous beast is just spewing nonsense and must be utterly vanquished. Then, an enormous, shimmering mass of ice erupts, ensnaring the creature. The man then shouts, urging them to flee immediately, and report the terrifying events unfolding. Mina and Julia reluctantly agree, starting to retreat, but Lucas spins around. He vows to return and avenge him. The man screams at them to flee while they still have the chance. Trapped within the ice alongside the monstrous creature, he believes he's done all he could. Then, the Minotaur shatters free. It roars, questioning how a mere insect dares to ambush it. By surprise, the enraged creature prepares to strike the man, declaring he will be the first to fall. Suddenly, a powerful attack slams into the monster. Julia charges in, striking the Minotaur with her staff, asserting that the man is no mere insect, but a truly great warrior. Mina also rushes forward, unleashing a devastating wind bomb. She questions why they are attacking instead of swiftly fleeing, since the man risked his very life to buy them precious time. Then, Lucas declares he will hold off the monstrous creature and asks Mina to go report the dire situation. She responds that it's utterly impossible for a freshman like him to possibly face a calamity-class monster. Lucas simply states, it won't be easy. A large rock plummets from the cave ceiling. The Minotaur bellows, threatening to end them all right now. Lucas vehemently insists that the others flee and leave the terrifying monster to him, but Mina shoves him and yells for him to retreat, stating it's her duty as vice president to protect everyone. He observes her, thinking she's far braver than he ever expected. Julia adamantly refuses to flee, and Maya reveals she's already sent a desperate plea for help to Kai, suggesting they all fight together now. The creature lets out a deafening roar. Yet, even with their combined, relentless attacks, Mina realizes they simply won't be able to win. Lucas turns to her, asking her to believe in everyone. Staring down the monstrous creature, Lucas affirms, there's no way we'll lose to a monster like that. The Minotaur charges forward and slams its fist into the ground. Lucas braces himself for the fierce confrontation. He then lands a crushing, direct punch right on the monster. Mina urgently asks him to continue the distraction so she can exploit an opening, and he readily agrees. The creature grows furious, bellowing that they are mere little pests. The monster prepares a devastating new attack against Lucas. Lucas glances back, seeing that Julia's powerful magic is ready. She then screams for the Minotaur to leave her brother. Completely alone, Julia unleashes a powerful, surging attack against the creature. The monster is struck. He launches a focused attack, right into the monster's face. The creature roars in searing pain. Lucas yells that he's hit its weak point and sealed the monster's movements, ordering them to attack now. Julia then swiftly prepares her thunder arrow. Mina also gets ready to launch her precise wind cutter. Mina and Julia unleash their devastating spells at the very same time. The two magical attacks surge forward against the monster, but the Minotaur somehow manages to resist. The creature growls in furious frustration. Then, it vows to obliterate everyone the moment it fully recovers. But Maya boldly steps forward, declaring she won't allow such insolence. With a flick of her wrist, she unleashes a massive sphere of churning water straight at the creature. The aquatic assault strikes the Minotaur square on, yet the colossal beast remains utterly unfazed. Its leg instantly heals, and it scoffs, dismissing the powerful attack as nothing more than a mere splash. The Minotaur then lunges toward Mina, promising to crush her. Suddenly, Julia asks, "What happens when someone gets electrocuted while soaking wet?" She then fiercely declares, "This Minotaur will pay for what it did to our soldiers." And just like that, the creature is violently electrocuted. A colossal magical explosion engulfs the Minotaur whole. Lucas immediately grasps that she drenched it with water, to explosively amplify the power of her electrical attack. The Minotaur finally collapses to the ground, defeated. As he observes the victorious group, Lucas comments, "Forging a strategy like this, completely improvised on the fly. It's just what I'd expect from an honor student." Climbing onto the creature's body, Lucas dramatically declares he will deliver the final blow. Mina watches him, utterly perplexed by his sudden attitude. But suddenly, dark energy violently erupts from the Minotaur's body. She wonders, what is this mysterious, crushing pressure that Lucas also feels? A dark, menacing figure manifests before him. Outside, Kai reacts instantly to the growing disturbance from the cave. He wonders if the ground-shaking tremor he feels is an earthquake. Then, Kai, with grim determination, decides to call for reinforcements immediately, urging the others to hang on tight. Dark energy explodes again, twisting into the form of a truly demonic creature. Lucas recoils, overwhelmed by the enemy's sheer power. A powerful shockwave slams into him head-on. The monster charges, knocking him to the ground. Lucas realizes it was only the creature's voice that struck him. "It's gotten stronger," he exclaims. He quickly turns, asking if everyone else is okay. Mina casts a magic circle of silence for protection, but the immense effort drains her energy, along with Maya's and Julia's. They all collapse unconscious. Lucas stares at his fallen companions, his face grim. A potent, new energy begins to radiate from his body. The demonic creature lets out a terrifying roar. Lucas charges, slamming a punch into the monster. He declares, "I will defeat it." Lucas lands another powerful punch, striking its arm with truly massive force. He lands back on the ground, a chilling realization dawning. This monster feels no pain. Lucas watches intently as the creature's arm begins to swiftly rebuild itself from dark energy. In mere moments, the arm regenerates completely. The creature attacks with a deadly energy blade. The sheer wind pressure forces Lucas back in pain. He realizes he severely underestimated the previous roar's impact. The monster sneers, remarking that the resistance of the strong truly excites it. The creature punches the ground, creating a massive, destructive shockwave. Lucas narrowly manages to dodge the attack. Then, the monster's hand grotesquely transforms into a sharp blade. The creature speeds straight toward him. The monster delivers a devastating blow, shattering the very cave floor. Lucas sees massive falling rocks hurtling toward the others. He instantly throws himself in front of the debris to valiantly protect them. Lucas swiftly deflects the barrage of falling debris. He then heroically stops a massive rock from crushing Julia. Despite his injuries, he defiantly turns to face the towering monster. The monstrous creature, however, is already preparing its next devastating attack. With a terrifying roar, it unleashes a blistering energy beam from its gaping maw. Immediately after, it generates powerful shockwaves with its colossal hands. Suddenly, Lucas has a startling realization. The monster's roar is intensely amplified by the surrounding rock wall. He bravely positions himself as a shield in front of his fallen companions. The full, devastating force of the attack slams into him head-on. The creature then lunges forward, intent on delivering the final, crushing blow. The creature, brimming with arrogance, wonders what Lucas could possibly do now. This pause allows Lucas to reflect deeply on his purpose here, as the monster continues to taunt him with menacing words. But Lucas, defiant, dares it to repeat those words times after times. He's utterly beaten it. He fiercely declares that as long as even a breath remains in his body, he'll never allow this monster to lay a single claw on Julia or the others. With a primal roar, he charges forward, intercepting the creature's monstrous blow with nothing but his bare, unwavering hands. The sheer, brutal impact slams him backward, dragging him across the ground, but he digs in, resists, and with a mighty surge, shatters the monster's colossal blade. The creature reels back, stunned and enraged that its attack was so utterly blocked. Lucas seizes the moment, advancing swiftly and striking with the jagged, broken blade. The monster roars in fury, retaliating with a devastating, earth-shattering punch. But Lucas, impossibly quick, dodges the blow and launches a fierce counterattack. The enraged creature then lunges, grabbing hold of Lucas and mercilessly dragging him across the desolate ground. Lucas, however, with a burst of sheer willpower, breaks, free and forcefully shoves the Minotaur's colossal arm away. Suddenly, Lucas's entire body begins to pulse and shine with an intense, radiant energy as he prepares his comeback. However, the Minotaur's arm horrifically regenerates in an instant, and it stands ready to unleash yet another terrifying attack. But Lucas is faster. He charges forward, unleashing a powerful energy strike that fiercely collides with the Minotaur's frantic, desperate blows. This clash erupts into a massive explosion of debris and jagged rocks. Lucas then turns directly to the creature, eyes blazing, and declares, "I'm ending this." And he faces down the monstrous foe with unyielding, fierce determination. Then, with a roar, he delivers a decisive, devastating blow to the Minotaur. The colossal creature recoils, its monstrous face contorted in utter surprise. Lucas presses his advantage, relentlessly continuing the assault. He slams into the Minotaur's chest with immense, earth-shattering power. Meanwhile, on the ground below, Julia slowly begins to stir and wake up. She weakly sits up, her voice trembling as she asks, Are we still alive? And where? Where is my brother?" Her eyes suddenly snap wide open, utterly captivated by the shocking scene before her. Lucas stands victorious, towering over the utterly defeated creature.